Good morning and welcome to a brand new day, a brand new episode of the AM show. I'm particularly excited today, not because it's the first day of the new month, August 2025, but it's also my twin sister and brother's birthday today. So I'm actually excited. Anyway, today I'm also a lone ranger like yesterday, and I am determined to make sure you enjoy the show this morning. Around the world, across Ghana's 16 regions, this is the Joy News channel, and I am Sweetie Abochi. So let me tell you what to expect this morning on the show. I'll start by serving you the AM news, which comes with a business update, and then I'll hand over to our sports guys, and they'll bring you the latest updates from the world of sports. And then we'll sit down and review our newspapers. Today, I have Professor Isaac Boidi. He's a Dean, Faculty of Accounting and Finance at UPSA. I also have Professor Michael Ayamga, Deputy CEO of the Environmental Protection Authority, and Awal Ahmed Kariama. He's Executive Director of RISE Ghana. So those three gentlemen will be joining me to review the newspapers, and then we'll get into our big stories. We have a number of them. The very first one is the OSP versus Adom-Otchere. You know that Adom-Otchere and two others have been detained because they failed to meet their bail conditions. The Office of the Special Prosecutor has formally charged them. All the details will come up in our big stories. And we also know that Ghana Armed Forces has intensified their efforts of peace enforcement in Bawku, and all the matters arising will also come up. We'll get incisive with it. And then we'll talk about assisted reproductive technology. Yes, you heard that right. Stay with me. I'll tease you a bit. So stay with me so when we get there, you can get all the details. A gentle reminder that the AM show is sponsored by Syntex Tanks. Syntex Tank, a strong, a tough. Join me. Let's start with the AM news now. Welcome aboard. This is the AM News, live on DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 125, around the world on myjoyonline.com, on Facebook, on X Spaces, and on YouTube. Of course, I'm Sweetie Abochi. Let's get right into the details. Now, exactly a week ago, the minority in Parliament walked out on the mid-year budget presentation by Finance Minister Dr. Kasiela Tuforsen. 1 week later, the group have again walked out as a Deputy Finance Minister concluded the debate on the presentation. Before that, both the minority and majority leaders had taken entrenched positions on the state of the economy as they wrapped up debate for their respective side. So it started with drama and ended with drama. But our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent, Kweku Asante, has all the details in this report.
It's exactly a week since Finance Minister Dr. Kasiela Tuforsen presented the media budget review to Parliament. At the time, the minority walked out and said there were pressing national issues they wanted to address, particularly the violence at the Ablekuma North rerun. Today, too, the minority have walked out as the Deputy Finance Minister concluded debate on the presentation made by his boss exactly a week ago. Before we get into that, the minority and majority leaders concluded the debate today with the minority leader beginning with some songs.
The
minority leader spoke about the city, spoke about the 24-hour economy, and his general conclusion was to the effect that the NDC simply have not managed the economy as well as they want the public to believe.
The Bank of Ghana announces fairly tail exchange rates. Businesses desperate for foreign currency cannot access a single dollar from our banking system. They are forced into the shadows of black markets of the banking sector. The billions that went to your financiers that you couldn't take steps to protect. Today, you claim that we mess the economy. The evidence is there, and you've exposed yourself. 60-40 is what you are called on the street of Accra. 60-40. 60-40 is your new name. 60-40. Give me 60, take 40. That is your new name. But I dare ask, what are the incentives for the private sector? A situation where instead of creating jobs, you are sacking our youth from having their jobs. Then you say you are creating jobs. What foundation are you mounting this vision on?
Majority Leader Mahama Yariga fired back, insisting that some of the points that have been made by the minority were simply not true.
It takes intelligence to know that you can use exchange rate to pay your debts. It takes wizardry, economic wizardry, to know that you can use exchange rate alone to pay a lot of your debt. Why didn't Ofori-Atta use exchange rate to pay the debts? What is the value of spending when you spend hundreds of millions of Ghana cedis to dig a hole in the name of building a cathedral for God? What is the value of spending? How can you commend yourselves for spending when you are spending monies digging holes and cathedrals were not emerging from those holes? When the minister stated that he was going to begin to put US dollars in our foreign accounts and Ghana cedis in our local currency accounts, a colleague minister, a minister of state shouted, why is he going to do that? All the time when we come, we build these funds, and the day we leave office, and people will come and squander all the funds.
Then came the time for the Deputy Finance Minister to do what is usually done at the end of these debates, to conclude and offer some final remarks. Today, the Finance Minister was not around, but his deputy was ready to step in his shoes. When he started, the minority only wanted him to say thanks to the House and end there, but he had more to say.
Mr. Speaker, may I take this opportunity to thank honorable members for an engaging debate, some made in good faith and others with obvious mischief and misrepresentations. Since our colleagues on the other side were not present to listen to the Minister for Finance at first hand, we may forgive them for the misrepresentation since they may be speaking based on hearsay. Minority
Leader was on his feet at some point to try and get the Speaker to stop the Deputy Finance Minister. But both the Speaker and the Majority Leader will have none of that. Sensing they were not going to get the Speaker to stop the Deputy Finance Minister, the minority walked out. The Deputy Finance Minister concluded his remarks by pointing out what he believed were misrepresentations on the part of the minority who engaged in debate on this matter. So exactly 1 week after the minority walked out on the media budget presentation itself, exactly 1 week later, the minority have walked out on the conclusion on the debate on the media budget review. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
So that's in Parliament, the legislative arm of government. So let's take a look at the judiciary now, because suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo has suffered a major legal blow in her attempt to block impeachment proceedings. And Accra High Court has dismissed her entire judicial review application, dealing a significant setback to her challenge against the process seeking her removal. Justice Torkornoo had argued that the proceedings were unconstitutional and marred by procedural breaches, but the court ruled her case was an abuse of process. And our court correspondent, Kenneth Jesse, has more from the High Court.
Suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo had filed the judicial review application to halt impeachment proceedings she claims are flawed and unconstitutional. Well, she argued that the Committee of Inquiry failed to serve her with proper documentation, violated natural justice, and acted beyond its legal mandate. Her application challenged both the procedure and jurisdiction of the committee set up by the President, based on a petition submitted for her removal. In delivering her ruling, Justice Mafu recounted the reliefs sought by the Chief Justice and addressed the substantive legal arguments raised by both parties. The court noted that portions of the reliefs, as well as grounds, were already before the Supreme Court or had been adjudicated by it. As such, the court held that pursuing the same issues before the High Court constituted an abuse of court processes and ordered those parts struck out. The court held that the entire originating motion had no merit and dismissed it in its entirety, citing both abuse of process and lack of jurisdiction. A notable part of the ruling addressed an objection raised by the Supreme Court by the suspended Chief Justice's legal team against an affidavit filed by Reginald Odoi, who deposed to statements on behalf of the applicants. Well, the court rejected the arguments that Mr. Odoi lacked authority or consent from the other applicants to speak on their behalf. It found no record of any formal disclaimer from the applicants disowning the affidavit, and thus deemed the disposition valid. Well, the court described the objection as incompetent, frivolous, and with no merit, and thereby dismissed it. Neither the applicant, that is Justice Tokonu, nor the respondent, the Attorney General, was present in court during the ruling. The suspended Chief Justice was represented by her lead counsel, Kwabena Edukusi, and the Deputy Attorney General, Justice Sremsai, appeared on behalf of the state. From the court complex, my name is Kenneth Jesse for Joy News.
Away from that, all 16 victims who died in a gory accident on Monday at the Juaso waterworks stretch of the Kumasi-Accra Road have been buried in a mass funeral service at Obogu in the Asante-Akim South Municipality. Now, the deceased persons, members of the youth ministry of the Obogu Saviour Church, were returning from a religious retreat at Osiem in the eastern region when a fuel tanker traveling from the Kumasi-Accra direction smashed their Ford Transit minibus at Juaso Waterworks, a few minutes' drive away from their home. 16 passengers, including a 4-year-old child and the driver of the bus, were killed on the spot. Oheming Tewia attended the mass burial service and came through with this report.
This is the scene of the accident that claimed the lives of 16 members of the Obogu Saviour Church here in the Asante-Akim South Municipality of the Ashanti region. On Monday, July 28, 2025, 20 members of the church, mainly from the youth ministry, were on board a Ford Transit bus from Osiem, the national headquarters of the church in the eastern region, towards the Obogu, and few minutes after leaving Waterworks Township, a fuel tanker traveling from the Kumasi direction to Accra smashed the Ford Transit bus, killing 16 members of the church on the spot, including the driver of the bus. 4 others who sustained serious injuries have been receiving treatment at the Juaso Government Hospital. Visiting the scene here depicts a sign of sorrow, is a scene of sadness, as personal belongings of victims welcome one to this particular scene. Personal belongings from slippers, sponge, towels, and many other items are scattered at the scene here. Many residents from far and near continue to visit this place to pay their last respect to the victims who died in this accident. Many say it is the first time they were here to catch a glimpse of what happened here and also to associate themselves with the story of the dastard accident that claimed the lives of 16 members of the Obogu Saviour Church.
Radio money and Crofano physically no and then I see me akasa na abesia ko amusie ho na ma behwe scene at the kwa e ba ya. In fact me ho adwiri me. As families prepare to bid farewell to the victims who died in this gory accident, many residents from far and near continue to visit this scene to pay their last homage to the victims who died in the accidents. They continue to plead with government to do something urgently to save the lives of people, especially motorists who ply the Kumasi-Accra highway. From Juaso Waterworks, for Joy News, my name is Oheming Tewia.
President John Dramani Mahama has condemned the assault on Joy News journalist Carlos Kaloni and another civilian by soldiers, stressing that he is a card-bearing member of the Ghana Journalists Association and will not supervise nor tolerate attacks on journalists. Speaking during the swearing-in of the last batch of deputy ministers, the president announced plans to convene a meeting between the media, the GJA and security agencies to reorient security personnel to treat journalists as partners in national development. We'll hear from the president shortly, but first, the Ghana Journalists Association has given the police, the armed forces and the national security 7 days to act on recent assaults against journalists or face a media blackout. More in this report.
Joy News journalist Carlos Caloni was reporting at a demolition exercise at Spintex when he was attacked by uniformed operatives. While interviewing an eyewitness, the individual was beaten. Carlos was struck twice in the neck, his equipment taken, and he was forcefully taken to a national security office at Blue Gate. He was released hours later, only after the Interior Minister intervened. At a press briefing, GJA President Albert Dunfo did not hold back, warning they may blacklist the security institutions and pursue legal actions both locally and internationally.
We demand that the Ghana Police Service and the National Security provides a public explanation for the arrest and detention of Carlos Caloni and his cameraman. Additionally, we request the immediate release of any findings or internal reviews conducted regarding the uniform officers involved. If the Ghana Police Service fails to act decisively within the next 7 days, as already stated, the GJA, in consultation with key stakeholders, will announce a nationwide media blackout of all police activities. We will instruct our members to withhold coverage of police events, refuse participation in police press briefings, and suspend all forms of editorial engagement involving the police.
The GJA president said the attack is part of a growing trend of attacks on journalists.
The data available to us, the information and records available to us indicate that the average attack on journalists every year stands at 12. So if we have already recorded 12, even before the end of the 7th month, it is very, very scary and alarming.
Mr. Dunfo says it will no longer remain silent. It has given a 1-week ultimatum to the police and other security agencies.
A detailed update on the status of investigations into all reported attacks against journalists across the country within the past 7 months. We expect these demands to be met within 7 days from the date of this statement. And I want to reiterate, I want to take this again. We expect these demands to be met within 7 days from the date of this statement. Failure to do so will leave us with no option but to advise all media houses across the country and our members to boycott all police-related activities and declare them as enemies of press freedom.
The GJA also threatens civil actions against officers who assault journalists.
Now let's listen to President Mahama, who's condemned the assault on my colleague Carlos Caloni and a civilian by soldiers. He declared that as a card-bearing member of the GJA, he would not tolerate nor oversee any attack on journalists.
To condemn in the strongest terms the recent incident involving the manhandling of some journalists by our security personnel. Such conduct is unacceptable and will not be tolerated. I've instructed that the incident be thoroughly investigated and that the officers involved be sanctioned accordingly. As a card-bearing member of the Ghana Journalists Association, I will not preside over a government that abuses or intimidates journalists in the lawful exercise of their duty. A free and responsible press is indispensable to our democracy, and we must all work to protect the media. I'll soon convene a meeting between the heads of the security services and the leadership of the GJA to plan a program to orient our troops to recognize the media not as enemies, but as partners in development.
Let's get some updates on the National Science and Math Quiz. And Laboni Senior High School, Accra Girls Senior High School, and St. Mary's Senior High School have all qualified for the 2025 National Science and Math Quiz after a single contest at the Greater Accra Regional Qualifiers. Laboni Senior High School won the contest, but all three schools crossed the 40-point mark, securing their spot at the national level. Here's more.
The final contest of the final day of the 2025 National Science and Maths Quiz Greater Accra Regional Qualifiers has just come to an end, and Laboni Senior High School has just emerged winner of the contest. They've secured the last spot. You can see they're excited, but we still want to find out exactly how you're feeling. How are you feeling?
Oh my God, I'm very much exhilarated because before we got here, we just knew the victory was ours. They just had to manifest this. And then I'll leave you with this. What God has to share in the through. No man, nobody.
We are going to work diligently, and we are going to do our very best to make sure that any school that comes our way, we are going to meet them squarely and fairly and beat them hands down.
Mary's was handed a rare lifeline in today's contest. After they lost in their first contest with 38 points, they came back harder and smarter in the next contest and made 43 points. Now I want to find out from them. Yes, please. How you feel? How did you feel? I mean, when you didn't make it in the first round and you were in the first contest and you were told you are doing the second contest, you got some hope, right? And when you made 43, how did it make you feel?
I felt so happy because I was like, God has done it. God has done it. Like I felt we have qualified. That's the main thing. Like that's the most important thing right now, and we've done it. So right now I'm at peace, and then I'm so excited. Like I have nothing to say.
This is the first time something of this sort is happening for three schools in the same contest to qualify to the national championship. Of course, there's supposed to be one winner, and that was Laboni Senior High School. They've made it to the regional championship, but St. Mary's and Accra Girls have made it to the national championship, each making the 40-point threshold. From the Adom-Otchere School here in Accra, my name is Adom-Otchere for Joy News. Congratulations.
It's always refreshing to see Adom-Otchere bringing you updates on the National Science and Math Quiz. Now let's get into some business stories. Prices of some petroleum products are expected to go up at the pumps marginally from today, August the 1st. This is based on the Outlook report that guides the prices of fuel at the pumps. We'll bring you the details in this report.
The price of petrol is expected to be increased by almost 3% per litre. However, that of diesel and LPG should be reduced by just under 1% at the pumps. The mixed pricing outlook has been influenced by the stable prices on the international market, as well as a fairly stable cedi over the past 2 weeks. However, some of the oil marketing companies have told Joy Business that they could keep prices unchanged at the pumps. They have also argued that the cedi's performance had played a major role in terms of projected values at the pumps. The latest price review is coming after government placed 1 cedi levy on some petroleum products.
Now, the Ghana Union of Traders Association has stated that it will be compelled to reduce prices of goods if commercial banks reduce their interest rates substantially. This follows an assurance from the Ghana Association of Banks that from next week, interest rates will begin to drop following the significant cut of the policy rate from 28% to 25%. Speaking to Joy Business, President of GUTA, Joseph Obeng, urged the commercial banks to slash their rate significantly.
Yeah, and that one is it varies from bank to bank and from negotiating to negotiating through personal banking and all that. But I saw on the view that the gap between the commercial bank rates and then the reference rate is too high, and that's how significant it is also will impact positively on the pricing. And so it is also very important. That, you see, that's why I'm giving the emphasis on the how significant it will be. But the banks always dwell on risk and all that. We've gone past the risk and all that. They overprice these interests based on the risk that we have. But nonetheless, once we are going to have some kind of reduction, definitely it will have, because we cite cost of borrowing as part of our prices going up. So if the the interest rate goes down, definitely we'll have a corresponding reduction of the prices. It's very obvious. But then I will still insist that we have some control over the mainstream commercial banks and their rates. The gap is just too much.
Let's wrap up the business update now with a look at the commodities market. And it's a wrap for the AM News. Coming up next is AM Sports with Haruna Mubarak. Stay tuned.
Sports on the AM show. My name is Haruna Mubarak. Now, the Ghana Football Association has announced a major cash injection of 1 million Ghana cedis for Premier League clubs ahead of the new season. The announcement was made by GFA President Keto Kreku during a partnership launch involving the Football Association, the Government of Ghana, and Adisa Productions. My colleague Benaya Dafiamekbo has more in this report.
The unveiling of the new broadcast partnership between the GFA, the government, through the Chief of Staff, Julius Debra, and rights holders at Adisa Productions took place at the Movenpick Ambassador Hotel in Accra. The partnership between the three parties puts an end to green speculation about a potential return of Star Times as broadcasters of the country's top flight competition. GFA President Keto Kreku revealed that the new partnership will see each Ghana Premier League club receive a sum of 1 million Ghana cedis before the start of the season.
As part of our new approach, and through this unique partnership with Adisa Productions, each one of our GPL clubs will, before the start of the league season, receive the amount of 1 million Ghana cedis each. Please, some silence. Where are my clubs? Okay. So, I will repeat what I said in case I'm saying that before the start of the season, each one of you would receive 1 million Ghana cedis. And this will be made possible through the new partnership.
He added that clubs will also receive reasonable amounts of money based on their finish in the league log, promoting healthy competition and encouraging teams to strive for excellence.
Here is something we are very excited about. We are working on a prize structure that rewards every club based on your league position at the end of the season, and not just the champions. Whether you place first or you are 18th at the end of the league season, your effort, your performance, your participation will yield financial benefit. For every game will now matter in our JPL. Every position will count. Igniting passion, creating wealth for all of you. Indeed, this new model brings meaning to every JPL game. It keeps the competitive spirit alive throughout the season. This is a system rooted in merit, but also in equity.
Minister for Sports and Recreation, Kofi Adams, believes the partnership with Adesa Productions is a testament to government's commitment to making the league more attractive.
This aligns with our broader strategy to leverage private sector investment to transform sports, especially football, which remains, and we all know, our national passion. I've heard some tell me, you can do well in every sport, but make sure that we qualify for the World Cup also. If we don't, you are in trouble. It tells you what football does in our homes. By what we are doing today, we are telling them we are not only going to work hard to qualify for the World Cup, but we are going to make sure that our leagues become competitive and attractive. When we say we mean business and we want to make sports and football for that matter as the engine for development, the government means business.
Chief of Staff Julius Zebra also spoke on behalf of the President, John Mahama, on the new partnership.
The President has always believed that sports, and especially football, represent a unique and powerful tool for national development. It drives youth engagement, unites communities, and opens up global pathways for our talent. The initiative we are launching today is a direct reflection of that vision. It stems directly from directives to reposition sports, not merely as an expenditure item, but as a viable growth sector. The President is fully committed to the development of sports in Ghana, not just as recreation, but as an engine of economic growth, youth employment, and national unity. This new model, founded on a cabinet directive, introduces a bold new approach to football, one where quality content, strategic investment, and private-public collaboration form the foundation for success.
The 2025-26 Ghana Premier League season will kick off on September 12.
Now, Ghana Premier League side Nations FC have confirmed they are open to selling defender Razak Simpson. The 27-year-old was part of the Black Star squad that featured at the 2025 Unity Cup in London and was named home-based Male Player of the Year at this year's Ghana Football Awards. Now, in an exclusive interview with JoySports, Chief Executive Officer of Nations FC, Kennedy Boakye-Ansah, revealed the club is ready to sell if they receive the right offer.
He's up for sale. So if you want to buy him, yeah, he's up for sale.
Have you received any offers for him yet?
Oh, yeah, we have had a couple of offers. Just that we haven't concretized those offers yet. But we will not just him alone, but we will not put any impediment in the way of any of our players. If there is any deal and we feel to strive for the club, Nations FC, and we feel to strive for the player, why not let the player go?
How much are we talking about? You asked me if I have money I can buy. How much does he cost?
Here, Bureau side.
How much does he cost?
Oh, he's a blaster material. He's a national team player. And so he will not go for cheap. But we're not going to coach any figures yet. You know, once the offer comes in, we are okay. We'll let him go.
In terms of interest he has received locally, Africa, or abroad?
No, he's had interest from Algeria. There's been interest from Albania. Locally, 2 clubs also came asking for his signature, but they came asking, but they haven't come back. But there are a couple of offers for him, and I know even if he doesn't leave now, probably before the start of the league or midstream, yeah, he might leave. Once the offer is good, we'll let him go.
You're expecting him to leave by the end of the season?
Oh, he served the club well. The past 2 seasons that he's been with Nations FC, he's been really instrumental in our success story. And so, if there's an offer for him, why? We'll let him go. Because we feel that he has served the club pretty well.
Now, in just 8 days, the start of the Joy News Invitational Tournament obviously kicks off and at the University of Ghana Stadium. Now, the Youth Employment Agency are the latest to register, and they are already brimming with confidence ahead of the games on August 9.
No wonder they are associating themselves with the JoySports Invitational Tournament. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let me have a conversation with you. How ready are you for this event?
Very, very ready. Very ready. We are ready since day one. And because as for YEA, we have a very good sports team. You know, this is a youth organization, and this organization has so many footballers. Sure. So many footballers. I'm sure after this tournament, most of them will be put in the Black Star. And you know, YEA is led by no less a person than the CEO, Honorable Malik Basintale, who himself is a footballer. Yes, so don't worry, you will see him with the captain band leading the YEA team. And one funny thing is that I don't know the organization that will be facing YEA, but I'm very sure the moment they see the lineup of YEA, they themselves will start weeping. Because it's not going to be easy.
I have a message from NIA for you. Their CEO is training his team in Barcelona. Why are you training yours?
Well, we are in Benabao. We have titles, we have money, we have swag. Thank you. You understand? So as for Yaira, you should understand that if he sees the features why he around, he should just run away.
So let me ask this question, right? What is that special thing that you and Basintale are doing in this YEA? So as I just mentioned earlier, there seems to be a certain energy surrounding this institution. What is that special thing you and Basintale are doing?
Well, you know, before coming to YEA, I've been a regional youth organizer for the Northeast for this is my second term as regional youth organizer. Honorable Malik has been a deputy regional communication officer for Northern Region, regional communication officer for Savannah Region, and deputy national communication officer for the party. So you've seen that we've traveled around this country and we understand the plight of the people. So going around as youth leaders, the various 10 institutions are under our offices. So definitely we met so many people, we spoke to so many people, and we understand that there were so many issues that we need to do. So right from the beginning when we got here, we know we had a lot of work to do, and we started thinking about how to get YEA to the next level. And since then, that's what we have been doing.
In fact, I went to which company like this, and they told me we should add food eating competition. Do you have people here who eat pa? I heard, of course.
Of course. Please.
I heard, of course, from you.
Yes, we eat a lot. We eat a lot.
We should add food eating competition.
You can add it. You finish the food for you.
Jobs for all.
Jobs for all. Food for all.
Thank you very much.
Who's the current champion now?
MPA.
MPA. They are dead. Buried. Dead. Buried. They are buried, I'm telling you. On the day they see YEA team, who? Oh.
Them dead.
Oh, them we are done.
It's a pleasure to have you on the AM show this morning, and it's time for us to review the newspapers. But I want to remind you that the show is sponsored by Syntex Tanks. And so let's spend some time and talk about water tanks before we get to the news review. Do you know the secret to real water storage? It's simple. If your tank doesn't have the tortoise on it, then it's not the correct tank. That's right. The tortoise tank, Syntex tank, is a champion of water tanks. It is strong and durable and built to handle our Ghanaian weather. So whether rain or shine, Syntex tank has got your back. So my people, go outside, check your tank. And if it doesn't have the tortoise on it, it's time to upgrade. Join the Syntex tank family today and enjoy water storage that's tough like a tortoise. Call this number, 0244 335 168, to either buy one now or find one of our 400 agents nationwide. You can also shop online at www.syntexgh.com. Syntex tank, a strong, a tough. My guests for the news review segments this morning, I have Professor Isaac Boydi. He's a Dean, Faculty of Accounting and Finance at UPSA. I also have Professor Michael Ayamga. He's Deputy CEO of the Environmental Protection Authority. And via Zoom, I have Awal Ahmed Kariama. He's the Executive Director of RISE GH. Do I have Mr. Kariama with me? Just to check your sound. Not yet. Okay, so as and when he joins us, we will be ushered into the conversation. Two professors, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Sidi.
Yeah. How are you doing today?
Very well. We're alive and kicking.
Yes.
Good morning to my brother.
Okay.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Good to see you.
Prof. Ayamga, it's good to see you too.
Yeah, it's good to see you. You're looking great this morning.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
I know what you can do on Fridays.
What can I do? I know how to take a compliment. That's what I can do.
You look beautiful.
Thank you so much. Let's get into your thoughts for us. Prof. Ayamga, I want to start with you. What has caught your attention? What reflections do you want to share with us before we get into the papers?
Yes, I have seen events over the last 7 months. And as an economist, as I always say, I was looking at the things that were being done by government in the past and being done now. And you ask yourself, are there striking differences? And you realize that the gamut of tools and the economic tools that we use are basically the same. And then you start wondering what is the difference. And I realize it's leadership. So today I want to pay tribute to our president for being a leader. The only difference that has worked in this country is the leadership and is the results. Talk is cheap. You can say you are doing this and that, but it only takes leadership, sacrifice, and example to get people to move along with you. And I believe that if anybody has done that over the last 10, 12 years, I would say it's His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. And I'm extremely excited that today we can point and tell Ghanaians that leadership matters, not just a cheap talk.
Okay, so leadership is the reason we're seeing the results, according to Prof. Ayamga. Professor Boydi, what's your take for us this morning?
So two things. The first one is on the program we organize, the media budget review done by IERPP, and then the BOG
reduction of the policy rates.
But before I continue, something happened yesterday. The Saviour Church of Ghana,
yeah,
the mass burial yesterday, and it was so sad to lose young people of our generation, 17 kids.
There was a 4-year-old child among them.
So bad, and I'm sure the family by now will be in a sad situation, and we want to ask God for more grace to sustain them in periods like this. Having said that, we want to thank your outfits for your support during our review, media budget review that was organized by IRPP. You were there, you captured our stories as well. In fact, we had to diagnose the entire budget and present solutions and ideas to the country. In fact, we praised this administration in terms of the various indicators that we have seen. In terms of one, the rate-settled performance. Interest rates down from 23 to 13.7. GDP up beyond the target threshold end-year target of 4% is now 5.7. Some indicators we praise this administration. But there was something interesting that we were not too comfortable with within the budget. That was a disconnection from the half-year realities. What did we say on that? If you go to the revenue optimism, ignores real underperformance of this administration. First of all, look at the oil revenue. It was down by 2.66 billion. Grants down by 339 million. Then we look at non-tax revenue, down by 1.4 billion. Total grants, giving a total grant of 3.2 billion, down. It tells you we have a problem. Already expenditure compression already in effect. So total expenditure was reduced by almost 18.4 billion because of the capital that a cut in capital expenditures. Yet in the mid-year budget review, we didn't see any plan to rebalance the spending towards investment productivity. We didn't see that. And we're a bit worried that the budget should have focused on this particular area. And there was something in the budget that people have not taken time to look at, the credit to the private sector. From 29, we're expecting that figure to have gone down. But now it's about 31%. So when the governor gave the rate yesterday or so, we were expecting a drastic reduction in the rate, although it reduced from 28 to 25. And we had indicated some months ago that even when they stopped at 28, it should have been 25. Yet, it's reduced now. Good. But the point is that if you take all the other indicators that we have, inflation, whenever we want to talk about monetary policy rate, we are focusing on a signals borrowing cost for banking. I mean, how much these financial institutions want to borrow from the central bank. So it was down to 20. What was the rate? To 25. But the rate should have been close to about 19%. Why? Because inflation taking a nosedive, interest rates, yes, growth taking a nosedive. We can get all the figures for you. So why would you stay on 19%? We think that if you want to move this economy to the next stage, you cannot ignore the contributions of the private sector. So we think that they should look at the figures again. It's a data. And that is what we use to calculate all these MPC rates.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I like that you've brought this up because there's another economist here who can speak to the matter. But I also like that, I appreciate that he first commended that they've done some work. We've gained some good traction. But Professor Yamga, what do you say to his problem that has been identified in the budget so far? In terms of credit to the private sector, you know, he was expecting a marginal reduction, and he says from 29 to 31, it's not as impressive as it looks.
You see, interest rates that are artificially determined distort the financial system. And one of the things I've always praised the Honorable Minister for and the Governor of the Bank of Ghana for has been the discipline to allow the economy to reflect on the interest rates. That's why consistently over the last 3-4 months, when the Minister of Finance went to the markets, treasury markets, got undersubscribed. What the former minister did was increase the interest rates and go to media targets. What they still did was came back, cut down expenditures, went back. Eventually, we started seeing one of the most robust and very, very important indicators. That is when government started meeting its projections and targets alongside with declining interest rates. So the economic incentives in the system is pushing the interest rates down. That is an economy in action. You don't sit here and tell me, okay, let's reduce it further. In fact, I don't remember the last time we reduced interest rates in this country. So when we are even seeing the Bank of Ghana combining with the economic system to bring down interest rates, that is a very positive sign. Again, my colleague said something that shocked me. You are talking of grants. Grants are declining, yet the economy is improving. 2024-25 have been turbulent times. Of course, the Trump impact on global economy is there. So everybody expects grants to decline. What is important is how do you bring that home, still maintain your economy, and not allow those revenue shortfalls to significantly derail your economy. And that is where I doff my hat out for the president and the finance minister, and I already started by saying leadership. Over the last 8 years, we are talking about borrowing over $50–40 billion in this economy. Yet our exchange rate was declining. That liquidity injection into an economy, you don't find, where was it? And I said it was leadership. People were basically hoarding these monies, using the dollar. I used to tell my students that, of course, I know I will teach you about the transaction demand for money, speculative and precautionary, but now there's a corruption demand for money, where people just brought in the dollars, CDs changed into dollars and stuck away, and that's why the exchange rate was declining. And the exchange rate was out of control and increasing. And that's why leadership blocked it. These are things we need to give credit for.
You think time... Okay, finish.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't intervene to bring interest rates down. But if you artificially do it, the markets are going to expose you. You distort the balance. And I believe that what is happening is where we should stay. We should focus on allowing the market forces to determine where interest go. Yes, government uses it to mop up excess liquidity and also determine injection into the economy.
Okay.
But we don't have to overly do it. I don't think that that's where I want to go.
Do you think time is a factor? Do you think the reductions he hopes to see will come to light with time? That is to assume that it's still early days yet for this administration and what you hope to do in terms of turning the economy around. Do you think time is a factor?
Yes, time is a factor, and I'm even surprised that just in the second quarter, the Bank of Ghana is intervening already to reduce the interest rates. I would wish that we allowed factors to determine it. Yes, the reduction is very important and is anchored in the economic stability that we are seeing. I said here last week that these are not numbers that we just want to see and talk about. They have to give us some room and some fiscal space first to spend, and also to be able to take some of the risk that you can do to simulate the real sector. Right. And that is what we are seeing the MPC do now, that is bring down the interest rates. We are hoping that the banks will follow that lead. And a drastic reduction sometimes would catch the financial players off guard. They don't know by which margin to also reduce it and how the markets will respond. So I believe that that gradual suppression of that rate and observing how it impacts the economy is the best way to go. And I tell all economists, I tell myself that if anything at all, yes, we are always doing Wall Street data, European data, other things. There is Macaulay data that Arthur has mastered. Let's go and learn from him and stop being that way.
All right. So, Professor Wedi, he says that let's not artificially push the boundaries of what we are looking for, and that let's let the indicators work. So, with time, you see the reductions.
I'm happy Prof said the BOG intervenes in the market.
Yeah.
And it confirms this. And it's confirming what IMF said.
That the gains are artificial?
No, I'm talking about in terms of the interventions in the markets.
Yeah.
You know, when your inflations are up, you have to now increase your rate, monetary policy rate, just to cool it down. That's all. But now it's taking a nosedive. Interventions in the market, yes. The forex rates with World Bank, IMF, reduce your foothold in your footprint in the market and allow demand and supply to interact.
Okay.
So that has been a problem. But see, gradually, this administration is abandoning their reforms projects and targeting on the low-hanging fruits, focusing on indirect taxes over the period of time.
And that's an argument you can make. Yeah. Okay, so let's get into the newspapers so that we can get these stories out there. And I just want to check one more time if Awal Ahmed Kariama is with us at this point. He'll be joining us via Zoom. He's the Executive Director of Rise Ghana. That's my third guest for today's news review. Mr. Kariama, are you with me on Zoom now? Okay, he's trying to connect. All right. So let me start with my newspaper. I have the New Finder and the Ghanaian Publisher. So let me start with the Ghanaian Publisher. Zoom Lion model inspires Zanzibar waste plan. And High Court dismisses another Tokono application. Apenyo Markin slams NDC 60-40 jibe. So these two stories I want to start with. The High Court throwing out or dismissing another Get Through Tokono application, and Apenyo Markin's commentary in Parliament yesterday. Let's start from the High Court, because the Human Rights Division of the High Court in Accra dismissed a judicial review application filed by the suspended Chief Justice, Gertrude Tokono, describing the action as an abuse of the court process and affirming that the court lacked jurisdiction to adjudicate the matter. We've been following this story from the beginning of the year to this point. It looks like the suspended Chief Justice is bent on fighting her impeachment, and the courts are also saying other things. Gentlemen, I'll come to you in a bit, but let me also bring in the story. So, Apenyo Markin, Minority Leader in Parliament, has launched a scathing critique of the John Mahama-led NDC administration, accusing the government of hypocrisy, misrepresentation, and benefiting from painful economic reforms initiated by the previous NPP government. And so he was speaking yesterday on the floor, and I mean, it was part of the conclusion of the debate on the mid-year budget review. And he said, or he questioned the NDC's economic credibility, branding the current administration as, quote, 60-40 government, a phrase that he said has become the NDC's new identity on the streets of Accra. So those of you watching us across social media platforms, let us know if indeed that is the street cred for the NDC now, 60-40. I want to hear from you. I think you are the final judges in these matters. And I may just squeeze in, Gold Board receives seized gold from NACOC. Yeah. And the Narcotics Control Commission has officially handed over 17 gold bars valued at $1.7 million to the Ghana Gold Board at a brief ceremony held at the Ministry of the Interior. So, Professor Yamga, let's start from the High Court dismissing another Tokono application. It looks like there's no end in sight. And I'm afraid we might keep doing this till, I don't know, what, the end of this year, next. What do you think about the current dismissal, or where the progress of this intended impeachment, because that's what it looks like, has reached?
No, it's not an intended impeachment. It's an intended hearing of the petition against the Chief Justice. No one has taken a final decision to impeach him. What I've said is whatever goes down must come, whatever goes up must come down. So it doesn't matter what the former Chief Justice suspended, I should say. At the end of the day, the committees put in place will have their hearing, and Ghanaians will know where this is headed. I think that she is not helping her own cause by these unwanted distractions, and it's a constitutional process. She is a seasoned lawyer. We agree that when your back is against the wall and you are drowning, you cling to every straw you find. That's what the suspended Chief Justice is doing now. But it is the judicial system in action. Case after case, they are being thrown out. And I think that it gets to a point that she thinks, okay, let me trust the process. She said the law is the law, and the law is the law now working. And let's allow it to function. I don't want to stay much on this, whether it is merited or unmerited, whether she has done something wrong or not. That is why the committee is in place. Her decision to more or less talk down her former colleagues and everybody in the committee, describe the president as somebody witch hunting him and torturing her. I think that those are extremely low bars that will continue to hunt her long after this hearing process is over. And if I was her, I would sit somewhere and reflect and say, is it not time I allowed due process to go on? The people are the judge, as you rightly say, and at the end of the day, people will judge. People is the judge.
People will judge.
People will judge. And definitely posterity will also judge. We can't allow our self-interest to dominate the national. The judiciary is unstable now. The longer this thing drags on, the longer the crisis in the judicial system. If we are getting a new Chief Justice, I think that it's better we get it over with and give the fellow more time to reform our judiciary, which is badly needed. I agree that our judiciary is not helping our system here. And the longer this thing goes on, the more it drags it down. So, yes, another defeat, and that should tell her this is the court. It's not the NDC or government doing it.
I mean, for me, I just see that she doesn't trust the system here, which is why she's even gone outside the jurisdiction to...
leading it. It's like chickens coming home to roost. If the system, she doesn't trust it, she built it, she led it.
She didn't build it, Prof.
She's been the leader of the judiciary for how long now? So you can't superintend over something. You are the leader of this justice, and now that the same justice that you have been meting out to people is being brought to you, you think that is unfair. What about people in the same system you have let her put in jail? What do you expect them to say? You have presided over presidential elections, and they've gone one way or the other, under that same system that you were superintending over. Now you want us to believe that it's wrong. No, I can't take that. I think it's double standard.
Okay. Yeah. Professor Bwedi, as an individual, I'm waiting to see what the ECOWAS Human Rights Court says about this matter, because then it gives you a fresh view of what people outside the country see. Maybe there's something amiss that we are not seeing, but I want to hear your thoughts on this matter.
Well, I've said on several platforms, I'm not a lawyer, so when it comes to such matters, I'm careful with my submissions. This issue, I'm on record, so I've said, it won't end today. This will travel for long. How many months?
Years, months?
I said it here. This issue will travel for long.
How long is long, do you
think? I have no idea, but we are here today talking about it. And there's another file application at international courts. Look at it from two angles. If she wins, what happens? If she loses, what happens? So if you're discussing this, we need to look at this broader context and see what we can get out of this. We've learned a lot of lessons out of this. I am not here to look at the merits and demerits of the case, but the point is that the law is a law, and that's the slogan now. So whatever happens, but it shouldn't be pushed to this angle, this stage. Let me come back to that Fenyo marking issue.
Before you go, do you think Ghanaians are tired of the back and forth?
Ghanaians?
Yeah. There was a time, I think, every day when you woke up, you read an article about the Chief Justice. People were sharing their thoughts and opinions about who's wrong and who's right. These days, you hardly hear anything. The commentary stopped pouring in. Are Ghanaians getting tired of this back and forth?
That is the characteristics of this country.
We talk about quickly.
I mean, move on. Are we talking about Blakely again? It's gone.
Well, because they've solved the problem. You mean the violence?
Yeah.
And the, okay.
We are not talking about it anymore.
Okay. So let's talk about
Fenyo marking issue. It says 60-40.
Yeah.
And then you are asking whether in town, whether people are talking.
Because he said that is the that is the tag the NDC
but it's
has
coming
now
as a result of what?
So they are weaponizing prosecutorial powers, and instead of recovering the loot they claim they want to recover,
we have recovered 60% of 5.7 billion. I wrote an article and I was asking a lot of questions. So the 40%, is it that the state we have lost the 40? Or the Dr. Dufour and co, they have benefited from the 40? It's a question you and I will ask. But it's coming as a result of the media budget review discussions, right? And I have said that, if you look at the entire document itself, there were some internal contradictions in the media budget. Two claims. One, the minister tells us no need to revise the macroeconomic targets and appropriations.
Yes.
Another claim, we will revise both the revenue and expenditure projections. It's just like saying, we'll change the quantity and then the ingredient, the recipe, yet the taste and the dish won't change. I'm misleading. And I'm sure it's coming as a result of what is happening in the media budget. But then, if you're talking about 60-40, whether it's a slogan out there or not, the state will have lost 40%. Who did the calculations? When did this issue about, let's take 60 and then allow someone to take 40? I've heard other comments that in recoveries, it's important to recover all.
I've
or
also
if you
heard
don't,
a different...
if you don't and you recover some, bingo, that is fine. We do this in banking. You ensure you take the low-hanging fruits. But I think on Bloomberg, I can give you the date. When the person himself had admitted that he would ensure payments are made. So on what grounds did you agree, and which committee, which law guided you? Let's go 60-40. In any case, we have recovered 60. Who loses the 40? The states?
Is it a glass full, glass empty kind of thing?
Well,
instead of losing everything, we've recovered 60%. And yesterday, Martin Kpebu was calling it celebrity soft justice.
I see.
Where, I mean, because of the profile of the persons involved and because of the, the specifics of the case, it's not like they took money away from the coffers of the country. It was just like casualties of banking sector cleanup and all that. We've recovered 60. Let's look at it as a half full glass rather than focus on the other 40% that we don't know whether or not we'll be able to recover. How do you respond to that?
So
and he said it's not new. They didn't create this law recently. It's been there since time
I have no chance on this law before.
No, I'm telling you, this is what he said, and he's a lawyer.
So it's a law that's
there
that you can recover. So the
you recover the money, you reduce your jail time.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, he said it. We can play back that.
Well, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't go into this. But my issue is that if someone takes from the state 100 cedis, and then the person is asked to pay half of that, if that person who takes the plantain from the market, are you going to negotiate on those terms?
Yeah, it doesn't serve the ordinary Ghanaian, unfortunately. Professor Ayamga.
There was something on Zoom Lion. Maybe it will tie to...
Zoom Lion, yes. I'll come back to it. I'll come back to it, yeah.
I have always maintained that our justice system is unfair. Given where I have come from, I still have people I grew up with still serving jail term for stealing goods. So,
goods?
Yes. So if you have some of these things, they are worrying. But we shouldn't try to tie it to any particular regime. Let me just take our memories back a short while ago to the Atu-Forsen case.
Yeah.
Atu-Asian, rather. Atu-Asian's case. Atu-Asian is in jail because the program or the plan agreed for him to what? Refund the monies. He missed some
There's timelines. Yeah.
Timelines.
Yeah. He couldn't pay the monies within the time frame.
If he had met the timelines, he would still be a free man.
That's what they're saying.
So it's an issue not about punishing the criminality, but recovering. Now, if you look at our track record in prosecuting these white-collar crimes, they're abysmal. The track record is abysmal. We've not been successful in doing that. Either it's our judicial system and our society or a combination of both. So it gets to a point where you now look at which is let's say, the best of the two evils. And what serves the interest of the Ghanaian people? Is it that we send one person to jail or we recover 60%? That is for the people to think of. But now let's look at the banking sector cleanup. This is a system that already sank this country by some $2 billion It's one of the primary reasons why our economy was the way it was. Yes. So if we were always quick to bail underperforming banks out, anytime they were underperforming, we sank in huge resources from the taxpayer to save them. What should be the basic intuition here? To at least minimize the losses. Because these are, as I said, white-collar crimes, some maybe impropriety, bad decisions, and so on. And no, it's very difficult to prosecute those ones. So I agree that, yes, we want to see some punishment, but my first inclination will be, do we minimize the losses to the Ghanaian people or not? So that is where I want...
half full.
Half full, yeah, is better than half empty. And look at it that way. I'm not saying that there is some collusion. The Attorney General is my cousin, and I've known him for years. If I get into trouble now, he won't defend me. I can tell you for that.
He won't defend you?
He won't. In fact, I think he gave me a warning when I was coming to government. And he's been very clear. He's somebody I know very, very well.
Okay.
And when people are saying these things, I want to look at the person I know, the person I have grown up with. And he point blank told me, this is not academics. And when you come in here, watch yourself. Because if you do something, don't come calling.
Okay.
Yes, so I can say that for the Attorney General, he is not a crook.
Okay. So let me get on Zoom now and bring in Awal Ahmed Kariama, Executive Director of Rice Ghana. Awal, thank you for joining us on the News Review. This is where we get to hear the perspectives of our guests on national issues. 3 stories gone by. High Court dismissed another Get to Talk On application. Apenyo Markin slumped NDC with 60-40 jibe. And I think what we're just, same thing. So those 2 stories rather. Let's hear your thoughts for us. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, and good morning to your viewers, and as well as my co-panelists, especially my senior brother, Prof, in the studio. First of all, let me also say good morning to the Ministry of Communications. The reason why I've not been able to join you early is the fact that we have been having a very poor network connectivity, particularly in the Upper East region, for some time now. So hopefully through your medium, I want to use and do some bit of advocacy for proper regulation as well as quality service delivery from the telecos. Thank you very much. That said, on the main topic, I think that it's within the rights of the former Attorney General, former Chief Justice, to be able to seek justice to the highest level that she wishes to seek. And the fact that she is taking that route, for me, is a demonstration of the fact that Ghanaians are always having a strong sense of civic engagement and willing to use due process and legal frameworks to be able to address their grievances. So wherever the case goes to end, it shows the fact that, yes, we've had somebody who was willing to challenge something they were not in agreement with, using different mechanisms and different platforms. And then I think we should encourage that. As for the merits of the matter, I think that as he's still pursuing it, some of us are not able to say whether it's black and white, but I think that it's proper that due process is followed. And I want to also jump in on the current bandwagon that we say the law is the law. I think that we need to expand it to say the law is the law. The law is also due process. Okay, so we shouldn't just say the law is the law. I mean, that's the catchphrase, but we need to expand it and say, yes, the law is the law, but beyond that, the law is also due process. But somebody who says, who's due process? So the due process has to cut across board for the person who is being prosecuted, as well as the relevant law enforcing bodies, so that we know that everybody comes to the table with the level of fairness that is expected. So that, because at the end of the day, it's the law courts we run to, it's a legal regime we run to seek redress on all our matters, so that we'll continue to live as a civic society. On the issue of the ATO forcing, I think that there are 2 schools of thought here. First of all, we know that this case has traveled for a very long time, and the case hadn't actually.
Oh, you mean Adom-Otchere?
No, well, I'm talking about the Adom-Otchere.
Yes.
Sorry,
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
Yes. So I mean, plea bargain is a very common practice in the field of law. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just somebody who wants to be learned. I'm not a learned person in terms of the law. But we know that plea bargain is a very common practice, especially in places like America and other places. you get people to plead guilty, and then also as a result of that, they get some concessions in terms of the level of punishment or the jail term they are going to get. And so that is tied to the fact that the Honorable Attorney General is able to recoup 60% in the case of the Unibank. And I think that that case also traveled for a very long time. And so to be able to come a long way to achieve about 60% recovery, I think is something that we must pat him in the back. However, I think that Ghana can do better. Ghana deserves better. I think the 60%, well, is something that he has done his best, but I think that we could have gotten at least a pool of the cake. And we're talking about the fact that this is not just about the state institution, but it's about people's dreams and aspirations that have been wiped. And so beyond just the directors of the bank, I think we need to take this investigation further. We need to take these processes further so that if we will find along the line that there was an action that is motivated by ill will, and that has resulted in people losing their jobs and companies collapsing. Because for me, I'm even concerned about the way the assets of the bank were repurposed after the whole cleanup.
Right.
The good aspects of the bank's assets were basically redistributed to other banks. In this case, CBG. We had the Consolidated Bank of Ghana. How about the bad assets of the banks? And then we write it off, or we made it a liability on the directors of the bank. So, I mean, there were positive aspects of the banks. And then in other jurisdictions, when these things happen, they really give a leeway. We have seen in America where banks collapse and then government has reinvested money and then supported and put up some measures in terms of oversight responsibility over the directors and the managers of those companies to ensure that things are effectively done. So we need to move to such a situation where we don't just indigenous companies, yes, they have their challenges here and there, but we need to be able to try to get to some level where we find that if they are not able to cope, then we know that, yes, they have reached insolvency or they are a risk in terms of the market, then we can put them up in a manner that is restoring investor confidence.
All right.
And when I talk about investor confidence, we link it to the issue of the Chief Justice. If she goes to that court, and whatever the court says, we know that at least she has followed due process to the end of the line. And the discussions that we have has a bearing on investor confidence. So we need to water down the over-politicization of the matter and ensure that we are following the law, and above all, we are following the process at all levels. Thank you.
Thank you. The law is the law. Two more.
Can I just have a
go
at that? And you see, all this thing, it points out to how the banking sector cleanup was done. Who closes a bank that can at least through various means raise 60% of the value involved? Who under normal circumstances, economic reasons, financial reasons, whatever, will go closing a bank like that down? If you want to take that standard and apply to banks to today, you close a lot of them down. If you take that standard and go into Parliament, you ask our Honorable Afenyo Markin to leave Parliament. Where did he take the party to? So it's 60-40. In fact, it's a pass mark. It's a B. And I just want us to be very realistic that it is the clandestine wickedness, the banking sector cleanup that brought us here. Because no financial analyst will tell you a bank can sell in ways Ghana up to 60% of the, and then you close it down. So that is where the bottom line is. It's not the recovery. It is what caused the problem.
Okay. Osawe, do you want to have a go, or should we get to other stories?
Well, I'm surprised. I'm dazed sometimes when we read the reports of the collapse, what led to the cleanup service, of the financial sector. I'm sometimes dazed. I don't know whether people have had time to read the entire document. Today, we are saying that there should have been other ways of taking care of these banks. They should read the report.
You hold a different opinion. Are you saying that
people should have?
No, but we are discussing this, so let's hear your view on it. Would reading the entire document change the perspective that they could have done it differently? Yeah.
At that stage, did we have any other alternative to sustain the bank? These banks were drawing from the central banks, Funds were given to these banks, and they weren't making loan payment. What do you think the previous administration should have done? Today, we are taking 60% from 5.7 billion. What did they get?
You don't have to look at what has
if those
happened
banks
to NIB,
are not,
NIB, AD,
what would have happened?
That's what we should have done.
So you see, sometimes we have to be careful, sometimes with our pronouncements.
Okay, now you have read the entire document, and you maintain that that was the best they could have done? Close down those banks?
At that point?
At that point?
Yes, for me. We didn't have any other alternatives at that point. If we go through peruse the entire document of the BOG report, that report started somewhere 2016, 15 or so. What did the then administration do? They left the documents.
Okay.
That report was there.
Professor Yamga, I know you want to say something. So
would have led to the closure of the National Investment Bank now. But as the Minister of Finance went and presented in Parliament, a smart move to look at what we are going to lose, eventually the life of the depositors, shareholders, and then say that, yes, these things happen all over the world. You bail out banks. Can we look at more humane ways of recapitalizing these banks so that we don't end up recovering 60% and they go...
But
when
these
you give them
ways,
a lot,
hold on for a second.
You give them a lot of support and they fail to make payment to get the bank to its feet. What happens?
This humane approach that we could have used, would that not have come at the cost of the taxpayer? Would that not have been using our monies to sort of keep them solvent?
Yeah, but that's what has always happened all over the world. Some people say that the banks are too important to fail. In fact, there are some of them that are too important for you to allow them to go down. Today we are talking about, let me just go digressively. We are talking about the men's gold scandal. Look at the suffering of the people. Have we succeeded in taking him to jail? No, so you need to ask yourself, if you ask a customer of men's gold today, will you be better off with 60% of your assets that are gone down, or you wanted to see the status quo? What would you say?
Or you want to see Nana Appiah Mensah in jail?
In jail. They will tell you they want their money. So you have to think of it holistically. Don't think that, okay, a standard that we have practiced over the years everywhere. You go to the United States, they bail out banks. They tell them they are too important.
But to what end, Prof? I guess is the question. How long do we keep doing that?
Social interest. You see, you can close a bank down. You can send a board of directors to jail. But the impact on ordinary people, the impact on the whole economic system is what you normally look at and say, oh, no, this, yes, there is some wrong in there, but then let's see how we can intervene. I agree with Prof that there is the tendency to abuse it, and that has also always happened. But in this case, where we still have some opportunity to recover some 60%, and that report didn't envisage that, the one who wrote that report ought to be re-examined.
That's the VOG then.
Yeah.
You know what
Dr.
happened to the entire financial system?
Okay, so gentlemen, let's pause here on this.
Let's apply that standard to their building. They are building. They're building.
And that report
building.
was
Why didn't you apply that same standard to it?
You know, that report was prepared by the then administration. So they should check. Who prepared that report? Not the recent past, the BOG governor. No, they should take that report, the asset life report.
Okay, so because you mentioned the building, I saw the story here, so I'm going to read it out. Over 67,000 ghost names or ghosts still drawing 150 million Ghana cedis in unearned salaries, according to Ayariga. This is still on the floor of Parliament. And among some of the highlights, he says, what is the value of the state when you spend 280 million to build a Bank of Ghana headquarters that could have cost 81 million Ghana cedis? What is the value of spending hundreds of millions digging a hole for a cathedral that never emerged? And the minister is he's talking about the audits. There's some sort of audits going on in terms of payroll audits going on. That is where we are seeing this 67,000 ghosts still drawing this amount of money. In his defense of this on the floor of Parliament, he sought to say that the SWAL administration had already plunged us into some financial difficulties. And so the things they are doing right now is still about recovering and letting us reach some level of normalcy. It's just because you mentioned the cost of the building, that's why I'm bringing this up. And then let's talk about GJA threatens nationwide media blackouts over attacks on journalists. I'll end here and then I'll come to your newspaper. So a few days ago, Carlos Caloni, my colleague here, was assaulted together with a respondent, someone who was just granting an interview. And so we've all seen the video, and I cannot for the life of me understand who that person is and why he just went to abuse human beings. But GJA is threatened that in 7 days, they want some sort of comprehensive results, conclusion to these matters in terms of the assault on journalists. And the president himself has come out to say, as a card-bearing member of the GJA, he will not tolerate nor supervise such attacks on journalists. The story is on page 8. I just want to give you a bit of details. GJA President Albert Junvo condemned what he described as a systemic and rising tide of violence against journalists. And GJA will no longer accept symbolic condemnations without action. If the Ghana Police Service fails to act decisively within 7 days, we will announce a nationwide blackout, media blackout of all police activities. And that's not going to be a good look on you. Gentlemen, so this is where I'll end the Ghanaian publisher. Professor Yamga, yes. I'm sure you saw the video of that security, that armed man, I don't know who he is, assaulting Carlos and the other guy who was standing by. Many people have condemned it, but I stand with the GJA president when he says that enough of the rhetoric, enough of the talk shop, we need action. We need things that serve as deterrent so that security officials do not assault innocent and armed civilians. I want to hear your take on this matter.
As I've already indicated, that act is reprehensible, it's condemnable in all terms. Armed men should not even threaten civilians. In the first place, they shouldn't have been where they were in the first place. But it's because of what a Ghanaian society has become that some actions you need to take military there. Otherwise, the police are not respected to a certain degree. Why? I don't know. That is why we're having these things. And for you to attack journalists, the people who risk their lives to bring us the stories, to get us to know what is happening, it's an attack on all of us. It's an attack on our democracy. And I'm happy the president has not minced words in condemning this issue. It's not only out there. There were times that we had people walking into live studios and attacking other people. Yeah. And I wish that this stance that the GJA is taking today should have been taken long ago. That if we had taken this decisive step towards violence against journalists.
Or demanding action,
the GJA should have acted this way when some news outlets and other things were closed down. So, yes, I agree that they should demand some action, but 7 days is enough for us to have due process. We are talking about due process here. I want to see the culprits brought to book, and I want them to also have the opportunity to state their case, to let us know why they assaulted them. Maybe there was something behind the scenes that the cameras didn't capture. We want that investigation to be comprehensive. But no matter what, there is no reason why a military person armed should attack a civilian. We are not in a war front. So that one, we condemn it. As to whether we have to black out or not, I want to say, is that going to help due process or not? If we are actually champions of due process, I think that we should allow the military hierarchy to deal with this. If we are not satisfied, then we can escalate. But as at now, I don't think that threatening the police, especially at a time that we are facing some challenges in terms of security, is the right thing to do. And you journalists need the police to keep you safe. So we must be careful where we are treading.
But Prof, exactly. What would you have us do? If not to threaten to black out the activities of these security officials, what would you have us do? How else do we register our seriousness?
It should be a last resort. You should give me.
But I'm saying that a few weeks ago, Prof, we saw a policeman in broad daylight assaulting someone. It was also another journalist from Joy News. And today is a...
Politicians do. I remember the last time I was here behind stage, you were saying something about somebody smacking and all those things. We were here when there was a demonstration out there and the leader of parliament went and struck somebody. So it's not only journalists that are the receiving and civilians are too. And I don't want to see that happening anytime, anywhere. Because as people who believe in democracy, there may come a time in our lives that we also have to hit the streets, or we have to partake in some standoff to drive home our demands. So attacking people is a no-go area. But I want to say 7 days is kind of a hard ball for me. Can we perhaps give a timeline that in 7 days we want to probably see some progress report on the investigations, and then give maybe some time for disciplinary action to be taken? At the end of the day, if you don't see it, you can still black out anybody you want. But I think that this speed is not fair, because given that there are other instances that you did nothing about, it's not right. It makes the GJA look maybe some way to me. But I'm not saying they shouldn't demand that justice be done. But that justice can be done with some consideration to how long it will take to get due and fair process.
Okay. Professor Abdulai, do you share the same opinion that 7 days is too short a time for some sort of comprehensive conclusion or consequence, you know, for these recent frequent attacks on journalists and innocent civilians? DJA says 7 days or you face a media blackout. What do you say?
I condemn the act. Condemn the act. We shouldn't get to this stage as a country where a journalist who is there to uncover issues for us to consume will be treated this way. But sweetie, this country is suffering from comparisons. You did this months ago. I have done this. So you should have done it the other way and not this way.
Tit for tat.
Yet the problem still remains. Is that the first time we have seen it? No, it happens all the time. So if the president comes out, the GGA president tells the country, we have suffered enough. So this time, we are giving you up to this time. You know how issues are brushed off in this country? This issue, if care is not taken, the next day, we won't talk about it.
In fact, we started the news review with that, saying that Ghanaians are tired also because we just move on quickly. So if
for me, I don't have a problem if there's an ultimatum. But you see how they have captured.
But do you think the time is too short?
For me, it could be today, tomorrow. Because what must it take to investigate this issue? You don't. You have all the security apparatus there. You should investigate. You know, look at the way they've written. DJ threatens military. Was it a threat the person issued? No. He was talking about issues that happened and the fact that you should act quickly. So I am not in favor when we push issue and we tell that, well, long ago, if the man knew this, why didn't he act, which my good friend said. Why did they say all this one? And now he's giving an ultimatum. He should have done it years ago. I think we should stop this comparison. It doesn't help. You see, let's go back to the budget. You reduce your budget by 3.something million. You cut your expenditure by 18%. Today we are talking about 60-40. So when you want to talk about the issue, they will refer you. So when in a driving seat, what did you do? So we cannot move forward as a country. We must always make reference to the past. So what are we doing today? There is no need to build a country. We want solution to problems. Of course, you can make comparisons sometimes. But now when you're in the driving seat, and I've been on the platform, all the successes we are having as a country, let's give credit to the NDC. If they will give credence or credit to others, that's fine. So that when there's a change of emphasis, the same people will be blamed. So when you're in a driving seat, accept blames, accept criticisms, find a solution to a problem. But we should not be all the time making reference to what happened years ago. How do you move a country forward? This is what the GJ says. So if we don't have anything to say on that matter, I think making reference to the past, he was there, why did he do?
But I also think that he's trying to establish some sort of historical, a very important context over here, that it keeps happening and that this is an action that is probably coming too late a time to get the results. I think that's the point you were trying to make. Yeah.
But you see, when we keep making references to that, when there's an impending case, you rather will anger this DJ or more.
Okay.
Because then you're not finding a solution to that problem. So you could have, yes, you draw inference, make reference, it's fine, we do that. But give us a timeline. What do we do in the face of this? Can we perpetuate this forever?
Okay, let me hear what Mr. Kariama also thinks, especially because, I mean, Rise Ghana is a human rights and, development NGO. So let's hear your take on this matter. And in the words of Albert Jumfo, he says, this is not a threat. It is a necessary action to defend the dignity and safety of every Ghanaian journalist. So this is not a threat. This is just us saying that we have been at the mercy of this brazen, unwarranted attack from security officials. And so we have given you 7 days to bring some sort of conclusion to these matters or face our wrath. What do you say, Mr. Kariama?
Yes, so first of all, it's unfortunate this has happened and we must condemn it. And I must say that it's not just by the security, but private citizens also have attacked the media. And we are in an era of everything in the parliament happens by certificate of emergency. So for me, I think that even though the 7 days is reasonable, but it's too long. I mean, the GJA could have given a shorter span of time, but I know being reasonable people, they want to give a very practical time frame considering how we have bureaucracy in our country. So that act is condemnable. And beyond just the ultimatum to give the blackout, I think we need to go back. They say crime has no expiry date. It is possible for all those who have come under attack in the line of duty, card-bearing members of GJA, to be able to litigate and seek due process, seek the face of the law, to seek redress on the attack that has happened to them previously. So I am thinking that beyond just the blackout, if these things don't turn out well, as expected by the GAA, we should consider a class action. Okay, various journalists have been attacked over a span of time. And I agree with Prof when he says that we need to stop the comparison. The most important thing is that we are talking about the here and now. Whatever has happened and due process or actions have not been taken, there's a time always where a man says that, or a woman says that enough is enough. I'm not going to take this further. And we look at the fact that when it comes to issues of journalism and the strength of our democracy, one of the core pillars of strengthening our democracy is a fair space where people have the freedom to be able to express themselves as well as report on issues. So if we think that journalism, best of all, is not public relations, it's about reporting things as they are. And we don't expect to be comfortable with every media reportage. And we should be able to accommodate the media, because if you slide the media today, tomorrow when you are being slighted, you may rely on the media to be able to promote the fact that your rights are being abused. Then by then, where would you be? Where would the media be? So if we undermine the media small, we are creating a precedent where we undermine our very existence as human beings. We undermine our very fundamental human rights. We undermine our very democracy. So this is unacceptable, and I commend the DGA for issuing that statement. And I urge them beyond this, if there are no any concrete steps to address this and to bring the perpetrators to book, then they should consider a class action.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kariama. Looks like, Professor Yamga, it's 2 versus 1 in terms of what the ultimatum seeks to serve.
I stand where I stand because I say that these are military men, probably low-rank military men, have done this. All of us seem to be against them. And I mentioned that top politicians committed similar actions, and we didn't even respond. Those matters have been allowed to swept under the carpet, if I should put it that way. And that is where my problem is coming from. As for comparativism, I mean, I'm a comparativist. I like that. The best measure of progress is benchmarking, to benchmark yourself against your past. And that tells you whether you are biased or you are objective. So anyone who says we shouldn't benchmark, we shouldn't compare to the past, definitely is looking at snapshot events and commenting, and I don't think that is how we make progress. So I'm only saying that I support the action fairly, but would the 7 days allow us to get to the real crux of the issue? That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that they shouldn't black out if there is no response. I'm just saying that let's look at the time frame, what it takes. Can we give due process to those that are being accused now, and would they allow us to know the true picture of the whole thing, why the military men were there in the first place? I'm not saying we shouldn't, but as we're comparing ourselves to the past, that is what we are going to do, and I always...
Well, they say an unexamined life is not worth living. So, of course, we have to be examining how we do life to make progress. So let's get into your stories now. The news center, Professor Boidi.
This is what I have here. The news center, 3-4 stories here. The first one is on page, this is on page 6. MTN taps AI expands service centers for customer satisfaction. Then GJ threatens military police with media blackout. That's on page 2. Then the government eyes pensions fund for roads. That's on page 3. Then Zoom Lions Sussex draw Zanzibar page, story on back page. Then the other one, which is of interest to me, is on the road contractors arrears attract 615.9 million interest.
Are we talking cedis or dollars?
Cedis. Road contractors arrears attract 615.9 million. Where do they get funds to do projects? They go to bank and borrow to undertake a contract for a country. So when they provide the services to the state and you delay in their payment, equally, they have to go and pay interest to the bank. If they are unable to pay, those who had excess funds that are given to the bank, they will not be able to make payment to those when they come to the bank to withdraw their money. So we are talking about contracted insolvency. They are asking for interest on the money. Go through the budget document. We cut expenditure almost 18 billion. We have been trumpeting on this issue for long, that the government is not spending on projects and all that. It's not cementing what we've been talking about. Now they are threatening to take arrears, interest on money unpaid. What it also means, we have reallocation, we have to realign our budget again. If you have to settle, to take care of the interest. What it means is that we have to cut some expenses.
But there's a road fund now. There's a road fund and there's a road maintenance fund. So I'm not sure. I think that if they're going to pay, it wouldn't necessarily have to be realigning the entire budget for the year. Professor Yangwa, you can help us out here with bringing some clarity.
I don't know whether you have allowed me or because of time.
No, we have to go in a few minutes, but
you
can land on it. I'll allow it. Land on your points.
You can let him.
Okay, Professor Yamga.
Yes, I just wanted to, you see, continuously, Prof makes it very difficult for me to stay on track.
Oh.
Yes, because you are talking of arrears here, and you are talking about this year's budget.
You have to stay on track.
Yes. This year's budget. And you are talking of arrears and debt in the road sector to almost about 12 billion. Accrued over the years. And the arrears were not accumulated just this year. In fact, we know that several contractors left projects uncompleted. In the midst of massive injection and borrowing in the economy, we didn't settle arrears. So if you are saying that we should cut expenditure, or we are cutting expenditure...
I'm talking about the consequences
Yes, the consequences is that no, road contractors have always taken interest. It's something that is known. That's why I said I was surprised. But it is the actions over the years that has brought us here, and we cannot just in 1 year decide that we are going to break the bank, use everything that we have sacrificed to build just to pay contractors. In fact, it is even remarkable that there is talk about paying them and they are asking for interest. The previous government didn't pay them.
I'm actually curious to see what the story... Does the story say they're demanding these arrears or that these arrears will be paid?
Yeah, they are always part of the contract.
So it's not the first time we are seeing these arrears.
So that's why I'm surprised Prof is bringing it up because he wants to make a point that contractors are owed. But the contractors have been owed since 8 years and the effort to pay them just started. That's where I wanted to draw Prof's attention to. It's nothing new. Contractors have always taken interest.
Okay.
That's what I want to point out.
Okay. Prof, I have some 5, 10, 15, 30 seconds for you.
Might not be able to exhaust.
You might not be able to. Okay.
But
so
the point is that...
So let me jump in.
Yes, I want to come to you. Just let him finish his point. He wanted to give me a concluding point.
You know, if we go to the story, these are arrears based on non-payments.
Yes.
So the funds are there. Why are you not paying them than to go through this?
But that's what he's saying, that the non-payment issue is just been, they've just started solving that. They just started paying contractors.
Have you read the entire document?
I'm asking
you. You have not read.
You start contracts without a dedicated fund for them, launch a year of roads, and the only thing you did was loot the road sector. You don't construct the roads, you don't pay contractors. And now you are not saying that we should
the entire document. You realize that these are arrears that they are talking about.
Arrears that should have been taken care of. Payment, arrears accrued.
But my challenge is that when we are to cut, if this is going to stay on for long, it affects some component of your budget.
Right.
Critical areas, you have to come in. So we don't need to allow this one to grow.
And
I am not the one. The contractors are talking about it.
Okay. So, Mr. Kariama, let's hear your thoughts on this matter.
Yes, I think on the face of this discussion, there are two fronts here. I've also been privy to information where some contractors have actually submitted multiple claims for work they have done. So that's another level of the discussion. The other thing is that I think that it's unfair. It's not just starting today, but over time, the contractors have been shortchanged. Sometimes you do a lot of work and you have to wait several regimes, several years to be able to take. So the time value of money, they don't really benefit, they get affected. So we need to look at how this contractors association, road contractors association, can begin to organize themselves to ensure that they have a very strong background to be able to demand these things, so that it's not a function of government's ability or inability to pay. I think it's a matter of priority. So from the road contractors front, they need to be able to be very forceful and use due process to be able to claim whatever is theirs timeously. And then at the level of government too, I think it's unfair to pile up payments, and like we said, it's not the first time. It has always been like that. So when you go into procurement issues in detail, you realize that government budgets are always over-exaggerated and ballooned because the supplier thinks that the money they are going to get, they're not going to get it on time. So we need to institute measures to ensure that these things don't happen, and those who are providing this service should also be able to engage the contracting authority to ensure that they prevent some of these things from happening over time. Thank you.
Thank you. And unfortunately, that's our time. Prof, if there's a headline on your paper that you want to just read out, I would have it because we have to go.
Exactly. I think we've taken care of them.
Everything?
Yes.
Okay.
We've talked about all of it.
All right. I have the news. This is your paper. The new find on the front page, Herbal Conference organizers rally Ashanti Minister support. Non-oil imports surge 129% in second quarter. Gold exports surpass imports for first time in nearly a decade. And those are the stories. Feel free to pick a copy for yourself and get into it. Those who join us for this conversation, Kariama Awal Ahmed is the Executive Director of RISE Ghana. Thank you, Awal, for joining us. And we also have Professor Isaac Boedi. He's the Dean, Faculty of Accounting and Finance at UPSA. And Professor Michael Ayamga, he is the Deputy CEO of the Environmental Protection Authority. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. Thank you for coming for the news review segment. Stay with me. I'll take a quick break. When I return, I'll be bringing you the big stories on the AM show. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the AM show. It's time now for us to get into our big stories, and we are taking a look at the Office of the Special Prosecutor. They've detained Paul Adom-Otchere and 2 others over the Ghana Airports Company Limited contract probe. And these people have been detailed also because they have failed the bail terms. I have lawyer Naneje Bafwewa with me on Zoom, and we're going to have this conversation to understand various perspectives. I understand Naneje Bafwewa is actually on phone. Thank you for joining us. Good morning and welcome to the AM show. Naneje Bafwewa.
Good morning and thanks for having me. Good morning to your listeners and viewers.
Great. So let me start with your initial reaction to the story. When you first heard that the Office of the Special Prosecutor had detained these 3 persons of interest, what were your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts were that when a person is given power to exercise him for and on behalf of the state to achieve a particular end, we should not obstruct that person. However, we should make sure that that person counts for the exercise of that power. And so when the facts are out, and we are able to judge for ourselves the reasonableness or otherwise of the exercise of that power, then we need to put judgment to it. What judgment are we putting to it? Question would be, will the poor man get bail in Kisia Jaben's OSP? Will a poor man get bail in Kisia Jaben's OSP? It's very ridiculous, very unreasonable, the terms of it. And when you look at, you cannot isolate this from the historical antecedent in terms of Mr. Adom-Otchere's relationship with the OSP. You know, nobody is saying that give him preferential treatment. However, if you don't also approach it very well, then you leave no one, you know, you leave us with no choice than to conclude that this is just to show him where power lies. And it is unfortunate because that's not the reason why the power is given to the special prosecutor.
So I want to understand what you mean by, will the poor man ever get bail under Kisia Jaben's OSP? Can you elaborate on that? What are you trying to say?
If you are asking for 2 landed properties in a person's name before you give him bail, then question will be, will a poor man get bail from the OSP? It's very ridiculous. The whole essence or the whole philosophy behind it will be defeated, because the whole point is about making sure the person, when required to come to court or when required to come to you, will definitely come, right? And so you have to look at it on a case-by-case basis.
But Naneje, can you confirm that Paul Adom-Otchere in fact does not own landed properties? And if so, I mean, what does that even apply about his...
That is not material, very respectfully. The materiality of it is whether or not, without those 2 landed properties, the object behind a person needing to satisfy such terms will be met. That is what is material. Whether or not, in the absence of it, the philosophy or the object behind the bill will still be met. In my humble opinion, under no stretch of imagination would you think that someone like Paul Adom-Otchere will jump bail without taking such properties from him. Under no circumstance, by no stretch of imagination. That is the reason why the terms are unreasonable and clear evidence that the OSP simply wants to show Paul where power lies.
So let's pause here for a bit. This is what you have to say. I'll come back and we'll probe the matters. I also have Justice Abdulai. He's a lawyer and a lecturer, UPSA Faculty of Law.
My regards to him.
Justice Abdulai, thanks for joining us on this conversation. So, Justice Lawyer Bafwewa, Nana Ije Bafwewa, is saying that it looks like the poor man cannot get bail under Kisia Jabin's OSP, and he's making reference to the fact that he was supposed to, Paul Adom-Otchere was supposed to present 2 landed properties, and he was not able to meet those requirements, for which reason he's still in detain. He has been detained together with 2 others. What were your initial thoughts when this information came to light for you?
Thank you so much, and my deepest regards to my brother, Nana. Nana is my good brother, so I need to extend my deepest appreciation to him. Indeed, on this note, I was completely shocked. First off, when I heard that Paul has not been able to meet his bail condition, and so naturally, I was asking myself several questions. What could have been the conditions such that a person like Paul couldn't be able to meet them? It's a bit troubling because, first off, bills are not supposed to be used as weapons to target individuals. That is not the essence of bail. And as rightly put by my friend, bills are supposed to ensure that the person is available as and when he's needed, but not as weapons to target people and then show them what you can do to them when the appropriate circumstances avail itself. And so, I mean, to that extent, I completely agree that the whole news was a bit shocking. But when the details started coming out, it sounded a bit weird because these are not the normal bill terms that you would find. Typically, what you would find is that bill conditions, even if it's supposed to be justified, it can be the justification can be in the name of any other person, i.e., if you are using a landed property or you are even depositing a check, or individuals are standing in sureties for you. All these can be done without necessarily the property or the check or any other thing that is being used as a security for your release.
Because you're talking about the details, I'm tempted to add that, I mean, these 2 landed properties were not supposed to be of any required or specific value. So
that part of it was itself a bit problematic because
so how then can we say that it's too big or it's just too much, something we've not seen before, if they didn't attach a specific value to these?
You see, that is not even an issue actually. That is not an issue at all.
Okay.
To insist that the property be in the name of the person would mean that you're not just bringing in an indenture, as we popularly call it. You are bringing in a land title certificate registered in the name of the detainee. And that cannot be something that ordinarily we do here in this country. I've never come across that anyway, regardless of the value attached to the property or not.
So what then is your reading from this? I mean, you are saying that it's never been done. What conclusions did you draw from whatever the intention is behind such requirements?
At this point, we can only guess, but we can never be able to determine exactly what the OSP is driving at.
Yeah, but what do you see?
The only guess at this point would be that it is designed to keep him in custody. That's the only guess, educated guess that you can come to. And this is so also because Paul is quite known in this country. And even though one may want to use the former finance minister as an example of people that may be known but will still escape, I think there can still be better means of getting him secured and still be out there on a bail. There can still be. There are a lot of other means that you can use, not necessarily having to buy a property in your name, duly registered and titled. I think that is too much to ask.
Okay, hold for me. I know Nana Ije wanted to say something. You say that your personal reading into this matter is it looks like the requirements were designed to keep him detained. And AJ, what do you say? You wanted to come in at some point.
So, like Shakespeare puts it, there's no art to tell the mind's construction on a human fate. Indeed, even in the courtroom, judgments are made from facts based on how the facts look like. And so, without more, we are then led to conclude based on the available facts. There's one thing which is not in dispute from this discussion. My brother just told you that from the facts, it is obvious that the whole thing was designed to keep Mr. Adom-Otchere in custody. The fundamental question then will be, why would anybody want to keep Mr. Adom-Otchere in custody? Clearly, it is to settle scores. What do we know about the relationship between Paul and the OSP? Paul has been very vocal in the way and manner the OSP carries out his business. Okay? And so, clearly, you leave us with no choice than to conclude that it is on that basis that the OSP wants to show where power lies. In fact, if they say that the property it should not be of a specific value, there's no property which is of no value in this country. With the greatest of respect, the property, even in my mother's village or my village, Achianse in the Kwabre district, right, is of value. And so it is not strange that a person cannot, right, produce two properties, right? It is not strange. Every property is of value, okay? And the mere fact that a person cannot produce a property is no basis to keep that person. The fundamental issue at heart should be whether or not the person, if required, would be available. Where would Paul Adom-Otchere go to? Where? That you have to keep him overnight. In fact, when you look at even the facts, which is the matter at hand, which is being considered by the OSP, it is even laughable, ridiculous. Look, you have to consider this from the corporate perspective and also the public procurement perspective, right? What role will a board chair play in procurement in this country? Unless you have a letter where the board chair himself wrote to secure approval for a procurement process from the public procurement authority.
So, you see, Naneje Bafwewa, you asking that we probe the whys, and so let's do that. And you also saying that when you go down into the details, it looks like this whole case is laughable. I'm quoting you verbatim here. Now, we know that Paul Adom-Otchere is under investigation in connection with some revenue assurance contracts between Ghana Airports Company Limited and a private firm owned by the proprietor of Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited. That is SML, right? Now, the OSP is examining the possible procurement breaches, including a sole source contract awarded to a company other than the one approved by the GACL board. Now, at the time, Paul Adom-Otchere was the board chairman. He has not denied, and I want to quote, right, so this is coming from Office of the Special Prosecutor. They are saying that the immediate past board chairman of GACL, Paul Adom-Otchere, did not deny the allegation by management of the Airport Company Limited that he brought the shady company. And he also confirmed that the procurement process for this contract started at the board level. Why would Paul Adom-Otchere not be the ideal person to be answerable for these investigations or questions that we need answers to?
So let me explain to you something. Assuming the fact they have even put out is true.
Are you saying this is not true? Because if you say assuming, it means you don't think it's true.
No, wait.
Okay,
assuming. Assuming. Because these are, what they have put out is their version of the facts. We know that they have put out versions of facts which have turned out not to be true. It is on record. It's a matter of public knowledge that consistently the OSP has put out facts that have turned out not to be true. The OSP put out facts in respect of Cecilia Adapa and canvassed it, went on a public rally, right, with it, only for him to tell us that it is not even within his domain. It is within the domain of Yoko. Then Yoko sent it back to Yoko then rejected it. The OSP put out facts in respect of the late LaBianca. And we didn't see the head or tail of it in the end. There are several facts the OSP has put out that leaves much to be desired. And so in terms of facts that the OSP put out, if the historical antecedent is anything to go by, then clearly, very respectfully, there's much to be. We need to interrogate it further. We don't have to take it as gospel. But assuming without admitting that you even take it on the face value, if I introduce a company to you, assuming that I even introduce a company to you, that doesn't mean that I have, I'm involved in the procurement processes. There are clear procedures in respect of the procurement. The chief executive as the head of entity will initiate it by writing, if it's sole sourcing, he will write a letter subject to the approval of the board. He will write a letter to the Public Procurement Authority to obtain the necessary approval. In this case, even if Paul introduced the company to GACL, did Paul write the letter or put a gun to the head, very respectfully, of the chief executive of Ghana Airport Company to write a letter to the Public Procurement Authority to procure the necessary approval? You see, all these things, without more, doesn't mean that there's some wrongdoing. And procurement processes are documentary.
But
so,
Naneje,
you are minded,
while I appreciate the argument you're making, and I actually agree with you that we should probe further. Whatever the OSP gives us is not the final. I mean, we should probe further. But in probing further, does the onus not lie on a board chairman to actually verify or authenticate the credibility of a company before he introduces that company? And mind you, this is a company that had only one employee at the time.
Sure.
Are you saying that this didn't look fishy in any way?
Wait, these are facts the OSP has put out. Even if we are to take it as gospel, right, the head of entity has a responsibility to ensure that proper due diligence is done before writing to the Public Procurement Authority to procure the necessary approval. And that is not the board chair. The head of entity ought to have done that. And so it is not as if there is a statutory responsibility on him under the Procurement Act, which was briefed. But assuming without admitting that that is even so, let's even admit that he is even wrong. The OSP is not the court of law. If you are convinced that he has done any wrong, you take him to court. Charge him, take him to court. Are you getting me? That is the whole point about bail proceedings at that level.
Okay.
But to impose bail conditions in a manner which will keep him in bail, in custody overnight, right? Clearly, it is a complete abuse of power. And that is the reason why some of us have been on this public advocacy against the Special Prosecutor's Office.
Okay.
It is not just that. It is more. Look, it is a very dangerous outlet.
Naneje, hold for me. Let me also bring in, just to stabilize.
Wait, let me finish, because if you don't let me finish, I'll be taken out of context.
Go ahead.
When Mr. Martin Amidu was the special prosecutor, he prosecuted only one case. That case was against Mahama Ayariga, the majority leader, and a friend of his. Go and check the facts. Very ridiculous circumstances. It is an office that can easily be used to execute people and settle scores. If you don't have a very reasonable, mature person occupying that office, when the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice was set up, it was put in the hands of Mr. Emil Short. We saw what he did with that office. Can we say same with the Office of the Special Prosecutor? It is a very dangerous thing that we have done. And besides, we are not even getting value for money. It has become a commercial enterprise to settle scores and do other things. And so we need to be very careful as a country. Our emotions are being exploited. Everybody knows that when you talk about corruption, you work up the emotions of Ghanaians. Everybody in this country is aware.
Right.
The moment you talk about corruption, the emotions are worked up.
Okay.
It is what has been exploited by the Office of the Special Prosecutor, particularly under Mr. Kisia Jabeng.
All right.
That's what he's done.
Okay, so now we can hold on now. Justice Abdulai, do you agree with the assertions of Naneji Bafwewa? He says that the board chairman is not directly responsible to verify or authenticate the credibility of a company he just introduced to the board. And he's also saying that the OSP's history gives us reason to probe further everything they tell us, so we shouldn't take their word as gospel. What do you say? I mean, you've been listening to him throughout. So what do you say to, well, how do you respond to
Thank you. So, to say that an institution set up by the state with all the resources, indeed set up by Parliament, should be treated with some amount of disrespect would not be an argument that I'll go by. I can understand that institutions of state have problems. That I agree with. I mean, that is what I hear him to be saying. And that is not limited to the OSP. Almost all our public institutions have their own challenges that without doing so much to build them up, we all have problems. In the past, I particularly had to, a lot of occasions to question how not just bail, but the misuse of the powers of the Attorney General in entering noli prosequi and rearresting offenders when they are discharged by a court of competent jurisdiction. I would cite the example of Paula Afoku, who continued to be in detention even after he had been granted bail on about 3 different occasions and had been discharged on a couple of other occasions. Yet the Attorney General at the time did everything to keep the man in custody for well over 7 years. The man was still in custody. I do not know whether he's out at this point. And so if you're really attacking our public institutions, then we should look at it holistically, how our public institutions have worked against all of us, whether in the past or possibly in the present. And so those are question marks that we should ask of all other public institutions and not necessarily just the OSP. The OSP would have its own challenges similar to all other public institutions. And so to that extent, I would think that we will have to look at everything holistically because we tend to abuse our discretionary powers in this country more often than not. And then we use them to target opponents and dissenting opinions. That is what I would say with regards to that. Now, with the second angle of it, as to the role of a board chair, the OSP and most of its staff, the head are lawyers, like Bavo and I, we are both lawyers. I do not think that they do not know the role of a board chair. I mean, I think these are basic corporate governance issues that we all have basic working understanding of. The role the board plays, the chair plays, and the role of the chief executive plays. I think these are well known. And so from that angle, my point is that if the OSP invites the board chair, there must be a good reason. I would want to take it from this positive angle, that there must be a good reason why the board chair will be the one to be invited rather than the chief executive or the other board members. And so for that matter, I would rather the fact come out first before condemning the OSP as to why the board chair was the one that was invited rather than the board secretary or even the chief executive or other board members, because it is basic working knowledge that indeed the board chair sits at the board without taking the ultimate. In fact, he may take ultimate decisions, but the workings of the company they are done largely by the chief executive. And so if the board chair is invited in such a manner, let's rather play. I mean, we shouldn't play the ostrich, but we should play with caution. Let's wait and see. Yes.
Does it suffice that one, he introduced the company, Evertex, to the Ghana Airports Company Limited, and that their engagement with this company started at the board level? Mind you, this is a company that they were trying to bring in because they said they lacked capacity. And the company they were bringing in had only one worker. So are these reasons enough to maybe hold the former board chairman before the OSP and say, we have questions that you need to give us answers to? Does that suffice?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Rather, could be a reason to invite any person would be how the Ghana Airport Company dealt with that company without doing much due diligence on their background. But let's also remember that having one worker or 100 workers cannot be a basis for anybody to be invited. If I dealt with a company, so long as the company is capable of delivering, the number of workers the company has is not considered. In fact, it's not a crime. It's never a crime that the company doesn't even have a worker, but it exists and it operates as it should be. A company may exist and be used outsourcing all its activities. So long as it's able to deliver, the number of workers it has is absolutely needless in determining whether or not a crime has been committed. And so,
what about, that's another one. What about awarding a $141 million contract to this same company to provide revenue assurances and, to some of these government officials and the rest? And the figure in question, is that enough reason to want to ask questions? Because the board chair, again, is the one who seemingly who knows these people, the Evertex guys. He's the one who brought them into the fold. Is that enough? The amount of money in question.
First, the amount of money. Second, the knowledge of the board chair. None is a crime in this space. There must be something more to the knowledge and the amount involved to amount to a crime. None of what you've said amounts to a crime in any way or shape. And so, like I said, we need to really know exactly what has happened before we can even impugn any form of criminality. But everything you've said so far does not in any way suggest the commission of a crime. Because crime is well defined in our laws. Procurement breaches are well defined in our laws. And so if one says that there are procurement breaches, what I understand the person to be saying is that the due processes in awarding the contract were not followed. That is, but not necessarily because the company involved was introduced by the board chair or by someone else, or the company involved.
That's what the OSP is saying. They are probing procurement breaches, right? These are just the fallout of some of the reasons
Absolutely.
why.
So procurement breaches, yes, amounts to a crime, but not the number of workers the company that was awarded the contract has, nor the amount involved. None of it amounts to a crime in itself with that much to say.
Okay. So in conclusion, you think that it is against the laws of the land that Adom-Otchere and these two others are still in the custody of the OSP? Is that
Unfortunately, I'm unable to accede to that, except that I would say that it's an abuse of the OSP's powers, but it's not against the law. Our law allows a person to be kept in custody. In fact, in this particular case, he's not even being kept in custody. He has been admitted to bail. Except, unfortunately, he's unable to meet the bail conditions. So there's absolutely no breach of the law, but the bail terms are unreasonably harsh against him.
Thank you, Justice Abdulai. And Nane Jebwafewa, we have some time for your final remarks on this topic.
Okay, so to begin with, I never said that the OSP should be disrespected. I am saying that on the basis of the OSP's own history, of facts that it has put out, which have turned out not to be true, right? You then have to do more than accept what they give you. I think it is only fair that if somebody consistently is giving you facts, which turns out to be otherwise, or which tends to be more, require more, interrogation or probing, then of course, any other facts he brings out, it stands to reason that you need to probe it further.
Right.
And so I never said that it should be disrespected. Indeed, it is not just the OSP. I've also in the past raised questions about certain factors the police itself have put out. For instance, if you recall, there was a history about some a policeman that was shot dead, involved in an armed robbery case, the manner in which the facts were put out. I was publicly raised issues concerning it. And so I have always raised those issues. The second point is, if my brother admits that the OSP is abusing power, then clearly the OSP is acting unlawfully. You see, you can act within the law, but in the process of acting within the law, you can act contrary to the law. Why are we saying this? When you look at the laws of this country, even where you have a discretionary power, you have to act in a manner which is candid, which is reasonable, and not arbitrary. Where you have admitted somebody to bail, but you impose conditions which right-thinking people look at it as unreasonable, as unwholesome, right? Clearly, you are abusing power. Is it consistent or is it lawful for a person to abuse power? If it is unlawful, then he's acting unlawfully.
Right.
And therefore, he's acting against the laws of this country.
Okay.
And so to say that he's not acted against, contrary to law, very respectful, I disagree with my brother.
Thank you.
My conclusion is that we need to begin to look at the OSP's office again. I've maintained that look, we need to look at it. Otherwise, we seem to be putting machete into the hands of people who are not acting in fidelity to the OSP Act. The very reason why we set it up.
Okay.
The very reason, I don't think they are acting consistent to it.
Naneje, that's our time. Thank you so much for joining us. We spoke to Naneje Bafwewa. He's a lawyer and member of parliament for Misha South. We also spoke to Justice Abdulai. He's a lawyer and a lecturer, UPSA Faculty of Law. I want to take you straight to our second big story this morning. And the Ghana Armed Forces have stepped up counter-insurgency operations in Bawku and its surrounding areas as part of efforts to restore peace and protect residents from extremist threats. Our man on ground has the story, and so I want to go straight to Adom-Otchere. And Albert, give us the details in terms of the development in Bawku right now in relation to peace enforcement and stepping up of the counter-insurgency operations by the Ghana Armed Forces in Bawku and its surrounding environments. Adom-Otchere, if you're with me, we want to get some updates from you now in terms of what exactly the Ghana Armed Forces is doing to step up their counter-insurgency operations in Bawku, and what are some of the latest updates we know?
Yes, sweetie. So the Ghana Armed Forces deployed 400 more soldiers to Bawku about 2 days ago. They did this deployment at the barracks of the 11 Mechanized Infantry Battalion here in Bolgatanga before they proceeded to Bawku on the same day. The Chief of the Army Staff was here to address the men before they set off. What we got from that interaction with them was that an existing operation had already been going on, and they had been training for this to try and handle all the violence and other issues going on around the country. And they were supposed to start this operation in August. While they were preparing for this, the recent disturbances in Bawku happened. And so it was an opportunity for them to deal with this issue, also because of the fact that the violence in Bawku happened just about in the last weekend. And so the training that they had was an opportunity for the soldiers to go there and to join the already existing troops in the area to try and keep Bawku under control. And so they deployed 2 days ago. Yesterday, we saw some videos of some of the work they've been doing on the ground. We've been told that they are doing some operations also with aircrafts and all that. And there were videos of this circulating yesterday of some aircrafts flying over the Bawku township. They didn't really give us details of exactly how this operation is going to go. But if you listen to what the chief of the army staff was saying to the soldiers, it's an indication that they already had discussed what they are going to do there. And so the men needed to have this at the back of their mind. And also, while discharging their duties, he urged them not to do anything that will bring embarrassment to the Ghana Armed Forces, and they should do their work and live beyond reproach.
I want to engage our guests now for some analysis on this matter. I have Dr. Victor Doke with me. He's a security analyst and lecturer at Skype. And Dr. Doke, thank you for joining us this morning. I want to start from the comments from the President, John Dramani Mahama. He said that the recent escalation of tensions in Bawku signals a deliberate attempt by persons who are benefiting from this chaotic or conflict in that region. And so when you measure the efforts of peace enforcement and how the Ghana Armed Forces are stepping up these efforts versus what the President himself is affirming, which I've heard many security analysts say, that there are some warpreneurs who are benefiting from this, which is why we don't see an end to this Bawku conflict. Do you think that we are actually starting to make some headway in resolving the conflict, Doc?
Yes, thank you very much for having me. Good morning to you and the cherished viewers. We are making a very, very, very good, progress with regards to one of the measures which will be a mid to long-term strategy, coupled with the final announcement or final decision taken by the Otumfor Mediation Committee. So these measures are very apt. It is going to be a very good step. It will make a lot of progress with regards to, maintaining calm in the area. And then also, you're talking about locating various armed elements, criminal armed elements in that area who have taken advantage of the, conflict to perpetrate crimes here and there. Now, this operation itself is enhanced in that it is not like the usual enforcement of curfews. Now you can have, strategized operations such as searches, seizures with regards to illegal weapons, or identifying people who have been known to be involved in crimes in the past. So any type of operations that would mandate that we get to the bottom of illegal activities in Bawku, you're sure that with the new mandate given to the Ghana forces, the enforcement aspect, this will be rolled out. So I think by and large, the mid to long term, there's going to be a lot of progress going to be done in Bawku and its enclave, and we should just watch out for that.
What about the people? We've had reports in the past of military personnel who were deployed to Bawku to keep peace, but there was some sort of clash between civilians and military personnel. Now that there's intensified military presence in Bawku and its surrounding areas in that same effort to enforce peace, do you think that this might affect, or how would this affect the people who are not, in any way participating or fueling this conflict? Is this good for the people as well?
Well, yes, generally, you're talking about bringing lasting peace, and this is one of the ways. It won't affect anybody, okay? Now, if you don't have any problem with the law, if you don't have any problem with the security agencies keeping the peace and performing their roles, then you're okay. But then if you have a problem with regards to, what has happened in the past, there are always avenues, the right avenues to channel your grievances, to. The law courts are there, the traditional authorities are there, the hierarchy of the security agencies are there, the police is there. You can use those avenues, but not to take the law into your own hands. Generally, the populace in there would be safe. We are talking about how they'll be protected generally. The aim of all of this is to also enhance not only visibility, but to ensure that every element that is not supposed to be in Bawku and its environs is what flashed out. And that is it. Now, the mid to long term, as I said, deals with whatever recommendations that will come out from the Tool for Mediation Committee. Okay, and one of the reasons why the enforcement is being, implemented is to try and implement any recommendations, okay, that would benefit the two sides to the latter. Okay, if you don't have this face there, then it means that implementations with regards to either to make arrest of some people or whatever, okay, will be a problem. So once the enforcement has started, it is just in waiting for whatever that will come out from the King's recommendations. And then when that comes in, it will just rope in with an already established mechanism and they roll it out. But the people should not have any problems with regards to the increment in personnel and then the operations over the area. It is just for their good, and it will be to the best of these youths just to calm down, lay their weapons and surrender them, and then collaborate and cooperate when necessary.
Doc, given the protracted nature of this Bawku conflict and the deep-rooted elements of ethnic, political, historical complexities, I'm wondering what's fueling your confidence in this particular strategy, however kinetic the strategy might be. Because it's not the first time we've deployed military personnel to Bawku to keep peace. So exactly what makes you confident that this time we can actually see some finality to the matter, or this peace that we want so much, that we can actually start to see peace in Bawku?
Right. Number one, the political will expressed, okay, by the political elites, the president, to end this conflict or to put in measures for the declaration of the conflict to be over is there. It has been visible. It is evident for us to see the deployment of troops, resources being allocated here and there. It is very evident. Number two, the aspect of what having a mediator, okay, in all of this, and then to ensure that the two factions, express their grievances, bring out their whatever issues that they have for it to be trashed out. Now, rest assured, the mediator also is working with the timeline, okay? So that makes him what? Want to finish, present his recommendations and reports for the implementers. Now, the ground troops over there are to ensure that whatever that will come out would be implemented and enforced. So putting these three things that I've mentioned together makes it somewhat of a positive approach when it comes to, the expression that I gave with regards to we going to have some level of progress when it comes to the Bawku conflict. The other aspect would be that to see the proliferation of small arms and light weapons in that area, how do we deal with it aftermath? Because then you can't have all these processes done. You declare the conflict over, the two sides have agreed to end hostilities, and then they still keep the weapons. It won't be good because then any, argument, borders on chieftaincy lines or tribal ethnic lines will just flare up, and then these guys will just go back to the weapons. So in all of this, let's look at also how we can deal with the aspect of the weapons in there, and then sustain peace building processes, engagements, and that is where the CSOs will be also needed much more to implement peace building activities. Not forgetting the state mandated body, the National Peace Council, also coming in to do that.
Doc, how does this strategy solve the problem of this conflict spilling over to other parts of the country? The most recent killing of the Kusasi chief happened in the Ashanti region, but military personnel have been deployed to the Bawku, up there and its surrounding areas. So how does that strategy help the spillover? I'm calling it spillover for want of a better word. You know what I mean? Some parts okay. How does that solve that problem?
The main source is the Bawku and the close communities nearby. So when that issue is really resolved and addressed, you're sure to have every indigent in every locality outside in Ashanti, Ashaman and whatever, everybody would adhere to the directive. If that doesn't happen, then you could see these issues popping up, and then you have one or two targeted killings here and there. But mainly, when everything centered on the Bawku issue, the chieftaincy, any minor issues that are addressed, then you are sure that every citizen would have what to respect the final outcome of it. So that one alone also gives the impression that whatever happens in there, the two sides coming together, ironing out issues, it sends a message to all of their followers, all of the youths in there and out there that it is over. You just lay down and then let peace reign. And that's it.
Finally, before I let you go, do you agree with what the president said, that there are some people who are interested in the conflict continuing? That is why we're seeing this escalation in tensions and so on and so forth. Is that, in fact, what is happening? That there are warpreneurs who stand to lose if the conflict is over?
It's not only the president saying that. I think if you followed closely with what some of us have been saying long ago, I mean, in the past, with regards to when we started commenting on this conflict, we've always stated that there are stakeholders. What we in conflict terms call them the shadow stakeholders who are somewhere involved in the conflicts with resources and all of that. So, assuming, okay, I'm a political figure there. Now, the benefit I get is these two ethnic groups don't, agree. So if I'm with party A, I always win because one group supports me. And once there's enmity, they wouldn't like any member of their side to come and take up what? Political reins. And you're looking at the political aspect of it, and it connects to what shadow stakeholders in that regard. It is very, 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 very critical that we look at all who are these shadow stakeholders and how they influence the conflict. They may be in Accra and its environs or whatever. We need to identify them. Now, there was a time when I did a field research, 2019-2020, the National Peace Council then engaged with CSOs, all these stakeholders who were, located in Tema and its environs, right, to try and then come together, dialogue with them, not to support with, ammunitions or funds or resources as they did in the past. So these are some of the things we can do. They are identifiable. Once you get a link or liaise with the youths in these areas, you will definitely find a way to locate them. And that is where we can also bring them to the negotiation table. Okay, then we can rope them in the processes that would, be implemented forward on.
Dr. Victor Dokede, thank you so much. I must say that you're the first person to actually make me believe that we may see an end to this conflict in Bawku. Thank you for joining us.
It will happen. Thank you.
Yeah. So Dr. Victor Dokede is a security analyst and a lecturer at Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Center, Training Center. That's it on the Bawku crisis. I want to take a break now. When I return, more stories, more conversations on the AM show. Like I said, I'm determined to make your Friday worth it. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the AM show. It's not every day that I get starstruck, but today I am. Guess who I have in the studio with me? Reverend Adom-Otchere. He is a pastor at ICGC New Wine Temple. We also have Reverend Adom-Otchere. He's a pastor at ICGC Zoe Temple. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Reverend Adom-Otchere.
I am here in person.
No, it's good to see you. And I know why you're in yellow.
Thank you.
Because it's coming down.
Ah, you're in the choir. I hereby adopt you into the choir.
Please, I was sacked from the choir. That's a story for another day.
We are restoring you.
So we are here to talk about Greater Works 2025. Yeah. Let's talk about why it draws so many eyeballs every year and exactly what is the intention behind Greater Works, Reverend Adom-Otchere.
I think it's been consistency. Pastor Mensa Otabil has always been a man of great consistency, great passion, and great intentionality.
Yeah.
So this is 3 decades of consistently doing the same thing every year, mid-year, waiting upon God for direction. And Rosalind, sweetie, just imagine that for everyone who wants to achieve great things, there's a time when you want to take time off what you do and reflect on whether you are on track with what you are doing, what changes do you need to make, even for a vehicle, as we were discussing before we came in, the vehicle needs to go for servicing. So this period of fasting and prayer is a great build-up every single year, because for 40 days, literally, we just wait upon God for direction, to pray, to get closer to Him. What happened, interestingly, is that after several years, many people outside the ICGC family found it relevant to spend time fasting and praying with us, and then by extension, becoming a part of Greater Works. So initially, as Pastor Otabil rightly said, the focus was the fasting and prayer, but with time, Greater Works became the gathering point of people from not just ICGC worldwide, but also people from different denominations who believe that it's a great time to fast and pray, also to gather for this conference that has become a big rallying point for God's people.
So considering that the foundation of your success is consistency, I'm curious to know, Reverend Adom-Otchere, what is the X factor this year? What makes it this particular year different from the other years, 30 years so far? What's different?
So is the build on. What we try to do at Greater Works is that we break our own record the previous year. So this year, the activation, the publicity, the mobilization, the involvement of the various assemblies, and interestingly, we had what we call Revival Saturdays. So we met 4 Saturdays, and the build-up, the numbers of this year's Revival Saturday is a game changer. So we believe that it prepares the ground. And like Reverend Albert mentioned, Greater Works starts on the 4th of August and runs through the 8th of August. But the beginning of Greater Works is the ending of a 40 days of fasting, or 40 days of power, which is our season of consecration. Now, when you read the prophet Isaiah in his writings, Isaiah chapter 40, verse 31, he said, "They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like the eagle. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and they will not faint." So it's going to be a moment of renewal, and we are going to mount up.
Because we are going to church this Sunday. Reverend Okran, so what happens from the 4th to the 8th? What are the activities lined up so that we know where to insert ourselves?
So you saw us coming in yellow, you say, you know what it is?
Yes.
So imagine a big sea of yellow. People converging from the north, south, east, and west, and branded vehicles in yellow, everything in yellow with yellow flags and everything. But the big fulcrum is not the color, it's Christ. So on Monday night, coming Monday night, is the opening night. There will be no morning session. It starts Monday 5 p.m. prompt, and I mean 5 p.m. prompt, with the opening night, which is a communion service, where Pastor Otabil will lead the congregation to break the fast, as it were, and then also speak into the continent of Africa. That's always a very special highlight. And then on Tuesday, we start with morning session and evening session, 9 a.m. and then 5 p.m. 9 a.m. for the morning, 5 p.m. for the evening. Tuesday to Friday. And the climax is on Friday night with the anointing service, also that will be led by Pastor Otabil. That literally, as it were, commissions you to go out there and do what you haven't done before. So these are, the opening and the closing are big moments that hold the conference together. And each of them is very symbolic, also very significant in that regard.
Which means no one should miss a day.
Absolutely.
Once you start from the 4th, follow through to the 8th.
We encourage it.
Yes. I understand there are some new speakers who I'm looking forward to you introducing us to, but there are also some who will be coming back, some who we are familiar with, of course. I know that Reverend Albert Okran will be there on the stage. No?
I'll be moderating.
Of course. Okay, so who are the speakers and who are the new addition?
So I'll start with the new addition. The new addition is Pastor Ade-Farasin. He pastors in Nigeria. He has a huge church. His influence is great, and I've always trusted the judgment of Dr. Otabil. So for him to add him to Greater Works, then you should expect that this man is coming
As
with
in a
high
different
grace.
church from ICGC?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. He's
That's
eloquent.
wonderful.
He has the word of God. He has the grace and the anointing. You will love him.
Okay.
And of course, the regular speakers, Pastor Matthew Ashimolo, Bishop Mike Okonko, and Bishop Tuno Bismarck. And of course, the host, Reverend Dr. Mensah Adom-Otchere.
Fantastic. And I know it's open to all. You don't have to be a member of the ICGC church to attend. But let's talk about the spiritual atmosphere and what this will do for you if you're lucky or fortunate enough to attend from the 4th to the 8th. Reverend Albert
So let's
Okran.
start with the music. Music is always a good platform to lift the Lord up. And once he's lifted up, he inhabits the praise of his people. So Pastor Edwin Datson will lead the music. And then we'll have Joe Metzel.
Oh.
We would have Dunsin Oyekan, who's joining us for the very first time from Nigeria. And then Pastor Nathaniel Bassi will also be joining us. Also, we have ICGC mass choirs from our various regions. That's always a special feature because they've prepared and had weeks and months of preparation for this. And then we also have a very special feature on the opening night.
Okay.
Just thousands of people performing choreography, music. It's a very special feature that we all look forward to every year. But beyond that, a session that has hymnal music, it has choral music, it has contemporary music. You have a Gen Z choir, and all the music is very special. Then there's times of prayer. There's a strong word from God. And all these put together give you an experience that makes you live feeling closer to God and feeling charged for the days and the weeks and the months ahead. And that's why you must be there, and everyone listening must also be there.
That's quite the teaser. So, Reverend Adom-Otchere, please, I know you prepared a message for our audience. I want you to look directly into the camera and tell us what that unique message is. You can feel free to invite us. If there's a number to call for more information, you're right there.
All right, sure. So from Monday, the 4th of August through to the 8th of August, all road leads to ICGC Christ Temple, Teshi. Greater West Conference is the event. Like we always say, it's going to be bigger, better, and greater. There are so many days in a man's life, but only a few that he will never forget. These 5 days promises to be those moments. The atmosphere will be shifted. The presence of the Lord will tabernacle in our space. Chains will be broken. And the Lord will literally help us to transform us to conform to the image of His Son. So we are inviting every one of you. You don't need to be an ICGC member. You only need to be a human being to be at Greater West. And it's coming down.
Like
it's
that.
Really coming
Do you
down.
have to wear yellow?
No, you don't have to.
Okay, you don't have to wear yellow. Okay. Reverend Albert Okran, you have the last word.
Well, let me say a big thank you to our partners at the multimedia and all our media partners, various collaborators all over the world who've helped make this conference possible by supporting in various ways. We just are happy that we can have a place where we can gather, and like Christ said, the things that I do, you can do, and you can do greater works. My prayer, my expectation, and my hope is that everyone that comes to the conference will leave the conference and actually do greater works to the glory of God. And that will be the biggest testimony, the transformation of the lives of people who actually gather at the arena of Christ Temple East in Teshi for greater works. And that will be, so next week's a week you want to consecrate to God, and then once they come, their lives will never be the same again.
It will be live on Joy Prime, actually,
Absolutely.
From Monday to Friday. So
7 p.m. each
from
night.
7 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Yes, but the
each
conference
day.
does start at 5, but the on-air broadcast starts at 7.
Okay.
So for the full experience, 5 p.m. But if for any reason you can't be there, you can get it on Joy Prime.
That should be your last resort.
Yes.
I tried to go to the grounds, Teshi ICGC Christ Temple East. And those who join us, thank you so much for coming. Reverend Albert Okran, he's a pastor at ICGC New Wine Temple. And Reverend Kojo Adom-Otchere is also a pastor with ICGC Zoe Temple. And they joined us to invite you for Greater Works 2025. I'll take a quick break. When I return, I have another conversation. And then, of course, we have E-Corner with Noella Karinyali. I'll be right back. my last conversation for today. I know I said e-corner, but Noella will not be joining us today. And we're going to talk about assisted reproductive technologies, ARTs. And this is an interesting conversation that you don't want to miss. So in this thought-provoking interview, we want to take a deep dive into the world of assisted reproductive technologies. And I want to just keep it short so that we hear everything we need to know from the horse's own mouth. I have with me a midwife from Elemas Health in the person of Madam Ekia Odra Nyama. Miss Nyama, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Did I get a Nyama right?
Yes,
Fantastic.
You did.
So let's talk about ARTs. Let's start with the definition, some sort of brief. What are ARTs?
Okay, so ARTs are medical interventions that are used to help couples or women in achieving pregnancy in general. So basically, it's a medical intervention.
To help couples or individuals, women, to achieve pregnancy.
Yes.
I haven't quite heard someone use that phrase that way, achieve pregnancy.
Because infertility is something that people battle with, and not everyone is able to achieve getting pregnant. So these are mediums that are used to help these women to achieve it, because there could be a problem, and that this is coming to solve it.
Okay.
So it means...
Right. So what are the components in there?
So they're pretty much, basically we're looking at IVFs now, and then we do IUI. Commonly we say artificial insemination, so with the IUI, it's more simpler and cheaper, or let me say, because that one, we make sure that you're ovulating, and then we take the semen or the sperm, and then we transfer it so that it goes to fertilize the eggs that are about to be released. But so you can compare it in the lay terms as, okay, you are traveling from here to Tamale, and then you go by air to Kumasi. It shortens the journey. And that by the time you drive, let's say from Kumasi to Tamale, you're not going to be so tired like having driven all the way from Accra to Tamale. So that's IUI. But with the IVF, we take the eggs from the woman, take the semen, fertilize it in the lab, and then we get an embryo. And now we transfer the embryo to the woman to carry.
You say it like it's some simple 1 + 1 is 2, but you're talking about manufacturing a human baby.
I know.
So you have to have your own semen?
Yes.
And then bring it to the clinic?
Yes, but it's not just having your own semen.
Okay, then walk us through the journey. Exactly where does the process start?
So achieving pregnancy in general, achieving pregnancy in general, you need a good egg, you need a good sperm, you need a good cavity, fallopian tube, and then you also need the cavity where the baby would lie. So these 4 things plays a role. Now, with IVF, we do various tests. We want to make sure that everything is in sync or everything is all right with the woman. That's most women, from the little I've gotten to know, some basic investigations would have unraveled maybe the mystery behind their infertility, and that they may not necessarily have needed or may have been called, let's say, barren or quote-unquote infertile. Yes, because some small interventions, it solves the problem, and they do not even need the IVF.
So it means a lot of people have small problems that they either don't know about or haven't even...
Yes, because let's say uterine polyps. Uterine polyps, I'm sure...
That's what we discussed last week.
And you cannot easily pick it on a scan. So if you don't use, let's say, a telescope to go through the vagina, through the cervix, to see the uterine cavity, then you see, oh, it's a polyp. Because it's as small as, and it can serve as a family planning. So the woman has good eggs, she has good lining, the sperm is good, but because of that small polyp, so when you take the polyp away, she might not need an IVF. Yes, but so even with the IVF now, before we transfer, we want to make sure we go into the cavity to make sure that where the baby is going to lie, what is happening there, because fertilization could go on, everything is fine, and the cavity where the baby, the endometrial cavity where the baby will have to lie, there could be a challenge.
Please hold for me. I'm sure our audience might have questions, and this is a very interesting topic because I know that sometime last month I read an article about fertility rates being low and how women are struggling to have babies. So if you have a question, we're opening the phone lines for you right now. Call me and let's hear your question. Luckily, we have a midwife who knows and understands assisted reproductive technologies, and she'll answer all your questions. So call me. The phone lines will be put on your screen right now. So before you even start the process, you have to make sure that the womb is okay.
It's not
the
just
fallopian tube
is fine,
the egg is fine,
and the
semen is fine.
Yes.
So once you have confirmed that these elements are okay, what next?
So we use your cycle to do it, and so we give you injections. The injections is primarily to help you lay more eggs than your usual one that you're going to release every month during your ovulation
You can
period.
take injections to produce more eggs?
Yes.
Oh,
so
I didn't know that.
Yes. We give you injections, and then you're able to lay more eggs. We go to theater, and we harvest the eggs, and we bring the semen, we fertilize it, and then grow it in the lab. So by the time we are transferring, the baby is formed already and everything is there. So
that's what you mean by grow it in the lab?
Yes.
And how long does it take?
As in the lab, in the test tube. Yes.
Okay.
So in the test tube as in vitro. The whole period is, in about 3 weeks, we are done with the cycle, and then we wait to transfer, and then we also wait about 2 weeks to test. If it's implanted, you're going to test positive for pregnancy. And then by the time we're confirming and you're positive, you may be like 6-7 weeks pregnant because we use your cycle and everything is counted into it, yeah.
But what are the chances of success? Because I have heard stories about IVFs and money's pumped into it and it failed. So what are the chances and what actually causes an IVF procedure to fail?
So hormonal factors, age, other underlying causes, and some are unexplained, everything there's still some aspect that is beyond science. So chances, I hear a lot of people say 50-50, but I should have to say it's 30%.
30 failure, 70 success?
30 success, 70 failure.
Oh, that's discouraging.
No, so that when it fails, you don't become demoralized because the chances that it may not work is there. We don't want to say 50-50, 60, and then but then there are so many factors that makes it success. And so if everything is fine, we don't usually, most people first attempt, they are fine. And then it's successful, yes.
I think I want to put this under the category of myth busters, right? So the very first one is the chance of failure is high. So don't go in there expecting that by all means yours is going to be successful.
So psychologically, we need to prepare the woman to be able to take whatever results that will come. Because even our normal pregnancies that they get, people get pregnant normally, about 20% of women are going to lose pregnancies in their first trimester, which is no fault.
It's a very inconvenient truth.
Exactly, and it is no fault of theirs. Yeah. Sometimes the growing fetus or embryo is not compatible to life, and so you miscarry. About 20% of women are going to go through that, and so it is a natural thing. But we need to prepare. So we do a lot of counseling, so that we let the person know. So sometimes they want to even go through the process, but they are like, okay, let's fertilize, let's store it. And we can store the embryos for years. Some get pregnant through IVF. Their frozen embryos are still kept, and after delivery, they come back and we transfer.
Where are you freezing these?
In the lab.
So do I have to pay for you to keep my embryo with you for years?
Yeah, you are renting
That's another one in terms of the cost involved. So one, I like that we are busting these myths so that the women who want children can actually consider this option. One, there's a high chance that it might not work. It's no fault of yours.
Yes.
Two, how much is involved? I hear it costs an arm and a leg. Oh, I have a caller. Please hold for me. I have Evans from Adenta. Evans, thank you for calling. So what's your question?
want to know if a woman is about 36 to 38 years, what is the chance of her getting pregnant?
Through the IVF or just the chances of getting pregnant at that age?
Normal childbirth.
All right, thank you. So Evans wants to know, normal childbirth, 36 to 38.
It's normal.
It's
I mean,
normal.
there's a high chances. And, you know, once every month the woman is ovulating and the semen are good, as I said, I listed so many factors that comes in play. So most at times, you know, the tree balance. Someone said something to me one day. It's like, Oba no kita awo adie. I think it's the woman that has the uterus. And so every infertility or if not achieving pregnancy, we always tie it to the woman. But 40% of the issues are always from the men.
Please say that again.
So we have a lot of 40% coming from the man, 40% from the woman, and 10% from both, which could be from both of them.
How much
and
does
10% from like unknown
the other factors? How much does our cultural beliefs, superstitious understanding of things play into achieving pregnancy, like you said? For example, the women are mostly the ones we blame because it is assumed that it is you who have a womb, and so if you can't carry, there's something wrong with you. But these days, I think the conversation around low sperm count, men's ability to produce potent semen is becoming very common. So let's bust that myth as well.
So you see, the fact that you ejaculate and semen comes doesn't mean 100% you can get a woman pregnant. The content of the semen needs to be analyzed. And most at times, it breaks their ego, like quote unquote. So they don't want to even hear it. But we do the semen analysis. And, you know, surprisingly, there are still interventions ongoing. And most of the people with the low sperm count and other, depending on what the issue is, there are remedies. But, you know, they won't even make the effort. And you see the women.
Because they are men.
Yes. And it's the women that they want to. So
let me usher in Wisdom. Wisdom, thanks for calling. What's on your mind?
Yeah, my question is that, first of all, I want to make a request that after the program or during the program, I can leave the person's number behind so that we can call to ask more questions thereafter.
We'll give you the contact for Elima's Health. So ask your question.
Okay, my question is, after a woman had a surgery due to fibroid from the test from the doctor, and after several months, the woman cannot conceive. So what would be the challenge, especially when the man's semen is tested and positive?
Okay.
The man has no challenge with the semen, and there's no issue about blood group or whatsoever.
Wisdom, thank you. So post-fibroid surgery.
Okay, so, you know, during fibroid surgery, a scar is formed in the uterus. Now, when the scars are formed, as it is healing, some parts can adhere. When it adheres or it gets stuck together, we call it adhesions, and then it will distort the endometrium where the baby will lie. So carrying a baby is going to be difficult. But when we're able to go through the vagina, whatever is there, we clear it, and then we create the space so that the baby or fertilization, when it takes place, it can implant in the endometrium. So maybe there could be an adhesion that has formed from the surgery from the fibroid. It is not 100% that is the cause, but it could be a possible cause post-surgery, yes. Just like keloid or those things form from some can form in there because there was an incision made and a scar was formed. As it is healing, it can form like that, and then you will need it to be repaired so that the cavity can be created well for a baby to now lie in.
I've not forgotten my question about the money. We'll come back. I have Julius online, and I like that the men are the ones calling. Julius, what's on your mind?
Sure. It's a question I want to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the lady, this year, I think
Oh, I'm missing a huge chunk of your question, Julius. My team back.
I'm saying that if a lady has a PCOS condition, is IVF an option?
Okay, thank you for that question. Yeah. So PCOS, one of the biggest challenges to fertility.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Yes, IVF will mostly be the best option because they don't have a problem with eggs, but it's about releasing the eggs and the quality of it. And so when we put them on treatment, manage, and then we're able to harvest more eggs. And also depending on how, mind you, it has to do with the ovaries, not the cavity. So if we're able to harvest,
it's polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Yes. So it has to do with the ovaries, the eggs, and not where the baby will lie. And so if we're able to manage, work on the hormones and everything that is causing the PCOS, and we get more eggs, get the semen and fertilize, she can carry. They have issues sustaining pregnancy even after achieving it. They threaten to abort or miscarry. Let me use miscarry because when you say abortion, everybody looks at it in a negative way. So then once we know that we keep their hormones in check for them to be able to sustain the pregnancy and carry it to term. Because the first trimester is usually a very trying period for them, yes.
So your answer is yes.
Yes.
If you have
It's
PCOS,
possible, yes.
it's possible to conceive using IVF.
Yes.
I have Charles from Koforidua now. Charles, let's hear you out.
Hello.
Hi, Charles.
Please, don't talk about the richness of the semen.
The what?
The richness of the semen.
The quality of the semen.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. But I wanted to ask, can you describe or help us to know? You know, some of the semen may look like the rich, some of them may look thick, and of the rich. Can you, in a bit, help us identify it, or we need to go to the hospital to confirm that? Thanks.
Okay, so I think he's asking whether the potency of a semen can be determined by the thickness, the whiteness, or whatever, or you need to go to the hospital.
Visually, you cannot say this is a good semen or it's not. It needs to be analyzed in the lab. So we are looking at the count, we are looking at the morphology, the shape, everything. So how they are able to motility, their movement. Because if they cannot move, how do they go up to the concuntiba will have to go and meet the egg somewhere. So we're looking at everything which cannot be seen with our naked eye. So it needs to be analyzed in the lab, yes.
Okay. So, I mean, if it's watery, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's
you are looking
not
at maybe the rate at which the ejaculation is ongoing, unlike someone who abstains for like 3 days, or someone is ejaculating every day. Definitely, it's going to be a bit lighter compared to if you abstain for some time. So even if
is that a thing?
Yes, even if you're going to do semen analysis, they tell you to abstain for, I think, from sex for between about 3 to 5 days before, because they want a certain texture so that they can analyze it well for you. Yes.
Oh, okay. I have Eric from Kumasi. Eric, I think you're my second to last caller. What's your question?
Yeah, my question has to do with, I'm here to get married, and I would like to know if it will be advisable for me to check my semen, because I have been taking very good care of myself, and I know the day on my first shot, much pregnant. So for me, on the first time, should I check up, see how the semen performing? Would you advise me to do that? Because I wouldn't want to happen to me and nobody for me on the paper. I think I would like to fight.
Okay, I think I get the crux of your question. He's asking, he's asking, I'm sorry, you get the question. He said he takes very good care of himself. He's about to marry, and he's hoping or expecting that the first time he and his wife, you know, it has to be, they have to achieve pregnancy. What do you say to that?
So there's what we call preconception care. And preconception care in Ghana, we do not place much premium on it. You know, you cannot just conclude by saying that, oh, you take good care of yourself, so your semen should be fine. You need to just check, know where you stand, and if there is any intervention, we put it in place for you faster than to assume. We always wait, go into the marriage, it's not happening. That is when now we want to. But then now you can find out, and if there is any help, you seek it before you become, and then your family will be looking at the face of the woman. Meanwhile, you may be the one with the problem, you know.
Okay.
So everyone should get checked, yes. And then
okay. This is my last caller, David from Ho. So what's happening to the women? Why are only the men calling? Okay, David, let's hear you out. Let's hear from David from Ho, are you online?
Yes, I'm online.
Okay, let's hear you out.
Good morning to your panelists. Please, with regards to the cost, it seems your panelist is trying to dodge the cost.
No, I haven't posed the question yet because the calls keep coming. We'll get there. Don't worry. She will run away.
Okay, aside that,
yeah.
Okay, aside that, with the uterus, some scans are being done and they said the uterus is affected with infection. So it can't keep the baby, and then if you try to inject, how do you call it? More egg, the person may not be able to keep it in the womb. So all those things, I don't know whether it's the IVF, if the person is facing those problems, the IVF will help.
Okay, did you get that?
Yeah, so the point is that if the problem has to do with where the baby lies, the woman can get eggs and we can get good thing, but where we've gotten to, then you will need someone to carry it for you, what we call it surrogacy. Yes, and it's part of the assisted reproductive technology. So if the problem has to do with the cavity, which they've been told, then we will take the egg from the woman, take the sperm from the woman, but someone will have to help them by carrying it for them. And when you're done and you do DNA, everything, it's still your baby. It's still your baby. It's going to be your baby because they were taken from you.
Okay. So how much does it cost? Let's talk about it.
Okay, so you know, the IVF procedure alone has a cost, but then the other costs, the investigations and all those things, they don't form part of the process.
Approximately how much do you need for one IVF procedure?
One IVF, okay, so we're even doing a promotion now. So now you need about 60,000, a minimum.
Okay, so just a minimum. I'm sure many of our callers would want to... Based on your problem. Yes. So there's a number for Elimas Hospital.
Okay, so...
Elimas Health.
Yes,
where,
Elimas Health.
According to you, you can even determine the sex of the gender of your child even before... there's so many things you're doing and the genetics and all. So let's put out the contact number for Elimas Health so that we can reach you. Yeah.
So 055 6956 857 055 6956 857. And I think I'm giving out this particular number because of the topic. I'm sure people would need more clarification, and this call will come to me directly so that I can explain.
So that's your direct number?
Yes, yes. Well, it's Elimas Health number, but then it will come to me so that I can explain things to people well, yes.
Thank you so much, Ms. Nyama, for joining us. That is Ikuya Odura Nyama. She's a midwife at Elimas Health, and she joined us to help us understand assisted reproductive technologies. Reproductive, which one comes first? Assisted reproductive technologies. All right, thank you for coming. There's a dedication here going out to the President of National Service Personnel Association, Andy Amwako. Happy birthday, Andy Amwako. God bless you and keep favoring you. Have a blast. This is coming from Nicholas, my in-house boyfriend here has joined us. And that's how we're wrapping up the AM show this morning. I hope the Friday edition has been worth your while. You know my name, I'm Sweetie Abochi, and I'll be back on your screens on Monday. But we are leaving you with some steez from Daddy Lumba. Enjoy your Friday. Mwah.